Goku's otherworldly journey starting from Naruto. Greetings, fellow multiversal adventurers. It's an honor to have you back in the saga that has us all hooked. Official channel statement: this story is 100% epic fiction, so please don't attempt real magic. The results aren't guaranteed and insurance won't cover it. The rights to this masterpiece belong entirely to its brilliant original author. We are just a barge sharing it with you. Do you want to keep being part of this amazing community? Join our ninja army of subscribers on YouTube and give this content a like. And for true fans, our Patreon has exclusive ninjutsu waiting for you. Chapter 1: Goku's first entry into the Naruto world. After his battle with the evil dragon, Goku bid farewell to everyone and departed Earth aboard Shenlong. Shenlong, where are we going? Goku asked casually, lying comfortably on Shenlong's back, his hands resting on his head. Shenlong was silent for a moment, then spoke in a low voice. Goku, in recognition of your contributions to the world, you have the opportunity to travel to other worlds. Would you like to go? Other worlds? Travel. Goku blinked, then asked, are there any powerful beings I could fight? Shenlong was silent even longer this time. I'm sorry, Goku, I don't know if there are people as powerful as you in the world you're traveling to, but I know that these worlds have their own unique training systems and fighting styles, which I think will be refreshing. Is that so? Hearing this, Goku grinned, a naive smile on his face. Sounds interesting, Shenlong, please take me there. In the Naruto world, Konoha's 60th year. Kakashi and his Team 7, having just entered the Land of Waves, are escorting Dazna to his home. Here, Naruto leaped like a lively rabbit, leaping into the bushes on the left and flinging kunai at the tree on the right. Hey, Naruto, don't throw kunai randomly, it's dangerous. Kakashi half closed his eyes, a look of resignation. Sasuke, beside him, watched the scene in silence, expressionless. Sakura frantically cried, what are you doing, Naruto? There's nothing here. Okay, let me look again, I clearly saw something just now. Naruto coughed a few times to mask his embarrassment, then strode forward again. After Dazna laid out the full situation, they concluded that this was no longer a simple C-rank mission, but a higher level B-rank one. On this mission, they would encounter ninja attacks and face unknown dangers. They had already encountered this once before, and Naruto was deeply dissatisfied with his performance. So, he desperately wanted to find the next enemy to demonstrate his abilities. HMPH. I don't believe I can't find it. Naruto kept walking, muttering to himself as he looked around. Bang! Suddenly, he felt like he'd hit a wall, falling to the ground. That hurts, he clutched his head, his mind filled with confusion. He hadn't strayed far, how could he have bumped into something on the open road? Before he could even look up, two figures suddenly appeared beside him. One of them grabbed him by the back of his collar and threw him backward. Wah! At that moment, the man glanced at him with a naive smile, scratching his head and apologetically saying, Sorry, I accidentally bumped into you. He was none other than Son Goku, the man transported by Shenlong to another world. After restoring him to his adult form and dressing him in designated clothing at his request, Shenlong transported him to this world. Upon arriving, he appeared right in front of Naruto. Dizzy from the transport, Naruto was unable to react quickly, and as he glanced around, Naruto bumped into his hardened, forged form. Who are you? Kakashi looked at him gravely. His sudden appearance, so swift he hadn't even seen clearly, set off alarm bells. Judging from his attire, he doesn't look like a ninja, a samurai? Not really, then who is he, and is he here to kill Dazna? Conjectures abounded in his mind, his kunai clenched tightly in his hand, when he heard the man's hearty laugh. My name is Son Goku, Son Goku. Everyone thought about the name and realized they had never heard it before. Hey! Son Goku, huh? I forgive you, Naruto said casually as he got up from the ground, patted his butt, and seemed unfazed by Goku's sudden appearance. Hey, he might be here to kill Uncle Dazna, Sakura muttered, her face furious as she protected Dazna. Huh? Is that so? I can't forgive that. Naruto's previously cheerful expression suddenly changed. He casually drew his kunai and lowered his body, becoming defensive. Goku, who was not far away, overheard their conversation and raised his hands to signal, you might have misunderstood something, haha. He then scratched his head in confusion. Kakashi, standing before him, clearly sensed the kindness emanating from Goku. He slowly sheathed his kunai and gestured for Sasuke to do the same. But the next moment, he saw Goku's brows harden, and his newly relaxed heart suddenly tightened. Then he understood the reason for Goku's change of expression. With a sudden, piercing sound, a vast sword roared out of the forest, aimed directly at Naruto and the other two. "Look out! Get down!" Kakashi's face darkened, and he turned to shout at Naruto and the others. Sakura, ever on guard, heard Kakashi's call and, without a second thought, lunged at the bewildered Desna. Naruto, sensing Goku's kindness and seeing Kakashi's lowered guard, had already relaxed. So, he was a beat slower to react. By the time he realized he was about to get down, the vast sword had already whizzed towards him, threatening to cleave him in two. Naruto, Kakashi's pupils constricted, but he couldn't move forward to save Naruto. Sasuke felt the same way. Seeing the man he hated most about to die, instead of feeling any joy, he felt a surge of fear. Clang. At that moment, a figure suddenly appeared before Naruto and, with a flick of his hand, sent the vast sword flying. "I survived." Naruto, frozen by the shock of the life-or-death crisis, stared blankly at the figure before him. He saw that the one who had saved him was Goku, who had only just met them. Goku swatted the sword away, his smile returning to his face. "Are you okay?" Hearing this concerned question, Naruto came back to his senses, a warm feeling welling up in his heart. "No, I'm fine." Swish. Kakashi, arriving a step late, looked at Goku solemnly and said, "Thank you for saving Naruto." He was filled with fear. Not to mention the third Hokage's instructions to take good care of Naruto. Naruto was his disciple, and he didn't want anything to happen to him. After thanking him, he looked back in the direction the sword had flown, his face set in seriousness. If he was not mistaken, the sword was one of the 7 ninja swords of the Hidden Mist village, the beheading sword. And its wielder was the Hidden Mist's traitorous ninja, the demon, Zabuza Mamachi. A few seconds later, a slender figure emerged from the woods, carrying a large, exaggerated sword. He glared at Wukong with a sinister expression and said coldly, "How dare you ruin my good fortune? New book? Please bookmark and read. Chapter 2 Son Wukong, you can't beat me." At this moment, Zabuza Mamachi was furious. He had arrived too late to witness Goku's appearance before Naruto. However, their physical gestures suggested they were strangers. Combined with his own intelligence, which contained no information about the man, he concluded he was merely a passerby. So, while the copy Nin Kakashi wasn't with Desna, he swung a slash, intending to decapitate his target. At the very least, he could eliminate one of the smaller figures guarding his target, saving himself further trouble. But with his primary objective failing and his secondary objective about to be achieved, this unknown individual, whom he had dismissed, actually knocked his slash away, ruining his easily achieved goal. With this in mind, he raised his slash, the tip pointing directly at Goku. "You're making me really angry." Goku ignored him, looking at Kakashi and asking, what is this place?" Shenlong hadn't told him what this world was when he'd been sent here, leaving him to discover it on his own. So, he asked this question now. But Kakashi was too preoccupied with Zabuza to respond. Seeing Kakashi's lack of response, Goku scratched his head and looked at Naruto. "Ah, this is the land of waves." Seeing Goku's gaze, Naruto paused before answering. "The land of waves." Goku rubbed his chin, a look of deep thought. In his mind, he was thinking, is there anything delicious here? He hadn't eaten in ages, and with his stomach empty, he longed for a feast. Zabuza, ignored by Goku, felt a vein throbbing in his brow, a rage rising to his chest. The infamous Zabuza Mamachi. The Kirigaki demon who instilled fear in so many ninjas. And today, he was being ignored by nobody? With this thought, he could no longer suppress his rage. Without caring about his target, he swung his sword at Goku. "Watch out!" Kakashi, who had been keeping an eye on Zabuza, growled, then grabbed Naruto and retreated. Goku's incredible speed had convinced him he was a master, so he'd merely warned him and stopped there. Now, he wanted to see how Goku would react. Would he continue to retreat with his incredible speed, or meet the blow head-on? Bang! His pupils dilated in an instant, a look of disbelief filling his eyes. Sharing the same expression were Naruto, whom he held in his arms, Sasuke and the others, who also retreated, and Zabuza, who was charging Goku head-on. Goku raised his right hand, extended his index finger, and with a single gesture, he firmly blocked Zabuza's beheading sword. "What's this?" Zabuza's eyelids twitched. Though incredulous, he didn't withdraw his sword. Instead, he raged with rage and attacked Goku from all directions. Bang, bang, bang. But without fail, Goku blocked each blow with a single finger. Whether attacking from the front, the side, overhead, or behind, Goku didn't move a muscle, not even turning his body or head. As if his entire body had eyes, he absorbed every blow without missing a beat. Whoosh! After several unsuccessful attacks, Zabuza finally drew his sword and retreated, gazing at Goku with a solemn expression. Who are you? Now, he finally saw Goku no longer as a nobody, but as a threat on par with the copy Nin Kakashi. I'm Son Goku, Goku said, his hands on his head, grinning innocently. Son Goku, I've never heard of you in the ninja world. Zabuza narrowed his eyes. He knew most of the powerful figures in the ninja world, but he had never heard of anyone named Son Goku. Just the way he'd taken his attack just now proved his strength. How could he not have heard of such a figure? Could the other party be a secret weapon hidden by some village? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but glance at Kakashi and the others nearby. Is he from Konoha? No, that's not right. Judging by their behavior, they certainly don't recognize this guy. Is he from Iwagakure or Kumagakure? He didn't even think of Sunagakure or the Kurigakure he'd defected to. In his opinion, those two villages couldn't possibly have any secret weapons. But then again, if Son Goku was truly the secret weapon of Iwagakure or Kumagakure, why was he here, aiding Konoha? He couldn't figure it out, so he didn't think about it. If he could capture Goku, wouldn't the truth be revealed? Thinking of this, he looked at Goku coldly and said, Son Goku, I admit you're powerful in taijutsu, but don't think you can defeat me with that. You should know that this isn't my strongest skill, mist hidden jutsu. As soon as he finished speaking, a thick white fog suddenly rose up, enveloping everyone. Be careful. This is the mist hidden jutsu, Kakashi said solemnly, standing in front of Naruto and the others. He raised his forward protector, revealing his hidden Sharingan. In this situation, if he didn't use it, he would be blind. If Zabuza attacked them first, he wouldn't be able to react in time. Damn it! How could such a jutsu exist? Naruto's forehead was covered in sweat, and he looked around solemnly, but he could see nothing. Such murderous intent. Feeling the chilling murderous intent in the air, Sasuke felt goosebumps all over his body. Fortunately, Zabuza's murderous intent was almost exclusively directed at Goku, so he wasn't frozen in place by the killing intent. Why is the fog suddenly here? Goku was the calmest of the group, surveying his surroundings like a curious child, his body unfazed. Suddenly, his eyes flickered, and his form vanished. A vast sword suddenly emerged from the fog, slashing towards where Goku had stood. But the strike clearly missed. Zabuza reappeared, his expression darkening as he observed the scene. Hey, are you looking for me? Suddenly, a large hand rested on his shoulder, causing his expression to change. Immediately, his body transformed into a stream of water. Huh? Why did it turn into water? Goku, who had appeared behind him out of nowhere, looked at the water stain on his hand and scratched his head in confusion. Then, he abruptly shifted to the right, and the sword struck the ground, almost touching his left arm. Tisk, failed again. Seeing his attack fail, Zabuza drew his sword and retreated, disappearing once more into the mist. Then, Goku tilted his head slightly, his gaze seeming to glimpse something through the fog. Zabuza's figure suddenly appeared behind Desna. Kakashi, with his Sharingan activated, immediately noticed this and dodged in front of Zabuza, his Kyuubi blocking his sword. Sure enough, he's coming for us again, he said in a low voice, staring intently at Zabuza. Tisk, copy Nin Kakashi, your Sharingan can see my movements too, Zabuza said grimly, seeing his actions fail again. After two previous attacks on Goku failed, he knew he wouldn't be able to defeat him in a short time, so he turned to attack this target. But it seemed that Kakashi was just as formidable a foe as the intelligence had predicted. Thinking of two opponents of similar strength here, and him being alone, he felt the pressure of facing two alone, and began to retreat. Although Bai was nearby and would come over after he gave the signal, there was no guarantee that he and Bai would be able to defeat the other party. They would need to go back and make plans before fighting again. So, after saying I'll come again, he disappeared into the fog and left. Without the support of ninjutsu, the fog quickly dissipated, revealing the bewildered Desna, Naruto and the other two, the serious-eyed Kakashi, and Goku, who rubbed his stomach and smiled a little sheepishly. I'm so hungry, do you have any food? Chapter 3 Wukong, I want to learn Ki. At Dazna's house. Slurp, slurp, gulp, gulp, crunch, crunch. At the dinner table, Goku devoured the food before him like a glutton. To his left, empty plates and bowls piled high, forming a magnificent spectacle. Everyone stared at him, stunned as if they were starving. Dazna's face twitched as he looked at Kakashi. Look at the meal money, he was poor, otherwise he wouldn't have lied about calling a B-rank mission a C-rank one. And what Goku had eaten so far was his family's food supply, purchased at great expense. Once it was gone, he would have no money left. Don't worry, Mr. Dazna, I'll cover the costs, Kakashi promised, his heart aching as he looked at his wallet. After all, it was he who suggested that Goku come to his house for dinner, and Goku had saved Naruto before. He couldn't be so shameless as to ask his savior to pay out of pocket. After a long pause, Goku put down his bowl and chopsticks and let out a contented sigh. Ha, I'm so full, Goku, have you eaten in a long time? Across from him, Naruto swallowed and asked the question everyone was wondering. Yet, I haven't eaten in a long time, Goku said with a silly grin, rubbing his bloated belly. How are you? Everyone breathed a sigh of relief at this. While it still sounded incredible, after all, no one had ever seen someone who had been hungry for a long time eat so much at once. It was still easier to accept than someone who ate this much every meal. However, none of them had expected it. While Goku's usual appetite wasn't this high, it was still incredibly outrageous. After dinner, Kakashi told Naruto and the others, although Zabuza retreated, he also said he would return. The next time we meet, it will surely be a fierce battle, so, we must be vigilant and cautious from now on. He knew that Zabuza had retreated because Goku was present, and Goku might leave soon. If Zabuza discovered Goku's departure, he would surely attack again. A fierce battle would then be inevitable. After all, the opponent was the notorious Kurigakure demon, whose strength rivaled his own. Sasuke and Sakura listened intently, but Naruto was absent-minded. He quietly approached Goku and whispered, "Hey, Goku, how did you manage to catch the sword with just one finger? Can you teach me?" He had been deeply impressed by Goku's previous single-finger strike, finding the move both impressive and powerful. He now considered asking Goku for advice, hoping that once he mastered it, he could defeat that pesky Sasuke and shed his reputation as the last-place finisher. From now on, turn around and sing. Well, I cover my finger with ki, and that way I can catch it. Goku, who had been lying on the ground bored, perked up at the question and scrambled to his feet. As he spoke, he raised his index finger to demonstrate. A faintly transparent white gas suddenly appeared on his index finger, causing Naruto's eyes to widen. Previously, Goku had caught Zabuza's sword too quickly, and he was at a distance, so he hadn't noticed the secret on his finger. Now, observing it closely, he saw it. Is this ki? What is ki? Naruto scratched his head in confusion. Ki? He didn't seem to have learned about it in school. They'd learned something else. What was it called? He often slept in class, and at this moment, he had completely forgotten what his teacher had taught him. Chakra. Ki is the energy within our bodies, and it can be strengthened through practice, Goku explained. Is that so? Naruto paused thoughtfully after hearing the explanation, then clapped his hands. Goku, I want to learn ki. Can you teach me? I can treat you to the best ramen. Fearing Goku wouldn't teach, Naruto followed up his request with what he considered the most sincere way to repay him. That's no problem, Goku agreed without a second thought. He sensed Naruto had great potential. If he could cultivate ki, he would surely attain considerable strength. Great, Naruto leaped at Goku's promise, completely oblivious to Kakashi's instructions. Naruto, what are you doing? Before Kakashi could say anything, Sakura stood up, walked over to Naruto, and gave him a slap on the face. Kakashi-sensei is talking about something important, and not only are you not paying attention, you're actually yelling. That hurts, Sakura, Naruto said, clutching his head and grimacing. HMPH, Sakura finished smacking his head and returned to her seat, groaning as she clutched her ki. Ahem, I've pretty much finished what I wanted to say, Kakashi coughed, then looked at Naruto and asked, Naruto, what were you and Goku-san talking about just now? While he was talking, he'd paid a little attention to what Naruto was saying. But because they were talking quietly, and his own voice obscured his hearing, he could only pick up fragments. Something about ki seemed to be mentioned there. Hey, Kakashi-sensei, I won't tell you that yet. You'll find out later, Naruto said with a grin, holding his head. You're kidding. How could he just say he wanted to learn how to become stronger from Goku so soon? At the very least, he had to wait until he defeated Sasuke. Once he defeated that arrogant guy, he'd confront him and ask who was the last one. Just thinking about it excited him. He immediately grabbed Goku and, without a word, dragged him out of the room. Naruto, this guy, watching them from behind, Kakashi's eyes narrowed, a thought forming in his mind. In a clearing in the forest, Naruto clasped his hands together and said solemnly, Goku, please begin teaching me the art of chi now. Looking at Naruto's earnest pursuit of martial arts, Goku seemed to see his younger self training under Master Roshi and at the Heavenly Temple. After a nostalgic smile, he sat down and said solemnly to Naruto, are you truly determined? Naruto nodded vigorously. Really, it'll be boring, I'm not afraid. Naruto, assuming Goku was testing his resolve, patted his chest and said firmly. Then sit down and close your eyes. Naruto did as he was told, then asked, and then, that's all. Naruto opened his eyes instantly, and 3 question marks slowly appeared above his head. That's all, yes, that's how I practiced back then, Goku said, blinking sincerely. Seeing Goku's sincere expression, Naruto closed his eyes again, half believing. Gaga. After a while, Naruto opened his eyes again, somewhat frantically saying, nothing. At this, Goku frowned, clenching his chin in thought. After a moment, as if remembering something, he clapped his right fist firmly against the palm of his left hand. Ah, I remember, one more thing, you need to calm your mind, feel the hidden energy within your body, and then channel it. New book, please bookmark and read. Chapter 4 Naruto begins his ki training. Are you sure it's gone? In the forest, Naruto looked at Goku suspiciously. If he hadn't sensed Goku's sincerity, he would have almost thought Goku was playing a trick on him. It's definitely gone this time, Goku said seriously. Actually, he had never taught anyone how to sense their own ki. Not his son Gohan, not his granddaughter Xiaofang, not even Ub, whom he had carefully mentored. They all sensed it on their own. At most, he had taught them some techniques for using ki in fighting. Okay, then I'll try again. After confirming everything, Naruto closed his eyes and began searching for the hidden energy Goku had mentioned within his body. After a long moment, he opened his eyes and asked excitedly, is this it? Then, some light blue chakra appeared in his palm. Goku leaned forward, leaning his head closer, carefully examining the chakra in Naruto's hand. After a while, he pinched his chin, a puzzled expression on his face. Somewhat similar, but probably not. At first glance, this energy looked just like ki, but to his perception, it was somewhat different. He wasn't sure what the difference was. Huh? Isn't it? Naruto was bewildered after hearing Goku's denial. But that's the energy I sense in my body, really? Ha? Then I don't quite understand. Goku scratched his head with a puzzled smile. Then, he suddenly remembered what Shenlong had said about other worlds having their own unique training systems. His eyes lit up. Could it be that this is the reason? If that's the case, then they have both ki and this unique energy within them. He suddenly understood, and told Naruto what he had learned. Are you saying I have 2 energies within me? Naruto's face wrinkled, and he felt a slight headache. This is so troubling. Why do I have 2 energies within me? In that case, which one should I cultivate? He crossed his arms, closed his eyes, and lost in thought. After a while, as if something had dawned on him, he opened his eyes and declared firmly, I've made up my mind. I'm still going to practice ki. Because he often slept in class, he wasn't aware that chakra training was their orthodox form of cultivation. Coupled with the power of ki he had previously witnessed, he resolved to practice ki training nonetheless. Having made his decision, he slammed his palms together, declaring his goal. In 15 minutes, I will sense ki. He closed his eyes, ready to continue searching for the ki hidden within him. But then, Goku suddenly placed his hand on his head, then released it within a few seconds. He looked at Goku with confusion, but Goku simply smiled. It's okay, continue. So he began searching for ki. Unbeknownst to him, Goku had placed his hand on his head because Shenlong had just told him that, because the rules of the other world differed from those of the original, creatures couldn't sense their own ki on their own, requiring its assistance. Elsewhere, after giving a few words to Sasuke and Sakura, Kakashi followed a trail of Naruto and Goku. While he was certain Goku held no ill will towards them, and even harbored considerable goodwill, Goku's sudden appearance and mysterious origins made him wary. Upon seeing Naruto leading Goku outside, he quietly followed. Partly to see what Naruto was up to, and partly to protect him. Naruto was not only his disciple, but also the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki and his teacher's only child. In the past, due to his own decadence, he had neglected his teacher's care for his child. Now that he had accepted the child as a student, he felt compelled to make amends for all those years. What are they doing? He quickly followed a trail to a spot not far from Naruto and Goku, hiding in a tree. He looked over at them, immediately spotting them sitting cross-legged on the ground. What are they doing? Questions filled his mind, but he remained silent, observing. For the next few moments, he watched Naruto leap up and down, then continue his cross-legged sitting position, chakra appearing in his hands. Then, after Goku said something, Naruto shouted that he wanted to practice ki. Ki. Hearing the word again, Kakashi was puzzled. What exactly is ki? What is this ki practice Naruto was talking about? 15 minutes passed. Half an hour passed. Another half an hour passed. In the clearing, Naruto opened his eyes and gritted his teeth in frustration. Damn it. Why can't I feel it? He had spent the past hour searching for ki within himself, but to no avail. With his impatience, maintaining this much at once was already his limit. So, he couldn't help but pause his practice. You can't rush this, said Goku, who was also sitting cross-legged across from him. Back then, it took me a while to succeed. Is that so? Naruto frowned, then thought about the reason for all this, and let out a deep breath. Okay. I won't give up. I'm a man who wants to be Hokage. How can I give in to such a small matter? He closed his eyes again, calming himself and continuing to sense his aura. Time slipped by. Soon, 2 hours had passed. Kakashi, who had been hiding in the tree, crouched until his legs and feet were numb. He stared at the setting sun with dead eyes, feeling helpless. What the hell is Naruto doing? What am I doing, wasting all this time here watching them meditate? Zabuza could attack again at any moment, and right now, only Sasuke, Sakura, and one of his shadow clones remained in the village. While the shadow clone possessed considerable strength, it could delay Zabuza until his true form returned. But it still posed a risk. What if he couldn't catch up? With this in mind, he planned to emerge and take Naruto back, to prevent any unexpected events from happening as darkness fell. But just as he stood up, before he could leap into the arena, a loud, excited voice suddenly rang out. I feel it. Naruto, who had been sitting cross-legged in the clearing, suddenly opened his eyes and stared intently at his palm. A fine wisp of white energy suddenly emerged from his palm and lingered there. Goku, look at this, is it? Naruto asked anxiously, quickly bringing his hand towards Goku. With his persistence and effort, he finally discovered this energy within his body. Although his intuition told him it was ki, he hesitated to confirm it himself, intending to let Goku make the decision. However, before Goku could confirm it, the ki in his palm dissipated due to his lack of concentration. Why is it gone? Seeing the ki disappear, he scratched his face in frustration. You need to focus your mind to channel it, Goku warned. Naruto calmed down after hearing Goku's warning, then closed his eyes and tried again. A few seconds later, the ki was once again channeled, lingering in his hand. This time, he strained to maintain his ki, carefully extending his hand in front of Goku. Yes, that's ki. After a brief sensation, Goku realized that the energy Naruto channeled this time was ki. I did it. Upon hearing Goku's confirmation, Naruto stared blankly at his palm. His distraction had once again caused the ki to vanish. But this time, instead of freaking out, he suddenly leaped 3 feet high. I did it. Ha. Leaping up, he placed his hands on his hips and laughed triumphantly. Just as he was laughing, a figure suddenly descended in front of him. It was Kakashi, who had been hiding in the tree for a long time. Hey. You've finally come down, Goku said with a smile upon seeing Kakashi. Hearing Goku's greeting, Kakashi stumbled and looked at Goku in disbelief. You'd already noticed me. Yes, when did you notice? When you arrived? Kakashi was speechless. So why on earth did he squat on the tree for 3 hours? Please collect and read. P.S. The Shenlong in this book is a supreme being relative to the other world, so it allows Wukong to travel to the other world easily, and can remove some shackles, allowing people in the other world to have the opportunity to sense the ki hidden in their bodies. The shackles here refer to the fact that due to the different rules of the world, although the creatures in the other world have ki in their bodies, they cannot sense it by themselves. This can explain why before Wukong came, no one in the other world could sense the ki bug. And pay attention. Although they cannot sense the ki hidden in the body, if the ki manifests energy fluctuations in the outside world, people in the other world can feel it, but most of them will mistake it for chakra because its fluctuations are close to chakra fluctuations. Finally, as for why the Shenlong is so awesome, I can only say that this is the setting of this book, Doghead. Chapter 5, Kakashi is confused. What, Kakashi-sensei, how could you do that? Naruto's face crumpled upon learning that Kakashi had been watching him practice all afternoon. This was his secret, a unique skill he'd been preparing to showcase to everyone. He'd barely learned it before Kakashi found out. Kakashi simply said, "Don't you know it's dangerous for you to run out like this? Zabuza could attack at any moment. Do you think you can defeat him? Goku's here, isn't he?" Naruto shrank back and glanced at Goku. Seeing his gaze, Goku didn't say anything, just a smile. Ahem, Mr. Goku hasn't known us that long, after all. Do you have the nerve to ask him to protect you? Kakashi coughed a few times, his expression somewhat resigned. He couldn't possibly say that part of his reason for coming here was to be wary of someone. I know I was wrong, Kakashi-sensei, but could you please not tell Sasuke about my ki training? Naruto realized his mistake and apologized readily, but he didn't want Sasuke to know about it in advance. That's no problem, but I have a question. What is this ki you're talking about? Kakashi had heard the word many times, but he couldn't quite grasp what it actually meant. Huh? Kakashi-sensei, you don't know. Naruto scratched his head in confusion. He figured, even if the formidable Kakashi-sensei didn't know, he should at least know about it. A question mark hovered over Kakashi's head. Why would I know that? Naruto gave a few awkward laughs and replied, this ki refers to the hidden energy within our bodies. This time, he was studying diligently, effortlessly articulating the concept of ki, unlike his former schoolboy self. Hidden energy within the body, isn't the chakra? Naruto, why are you tampering with concepts? Upon hearing the answer, Kakashi's dead eyes flickered with silence. Naruto, that's not ki, it's chakra. What were you doing in school? At that moment, he couldn't help but feel a little skeptical about the teacher's level of education. Chakra, what's that? Naruto's face was filled with confusion. I think I've heard of this before. Where have I heard it? He scratched his head, unable to recall where. It's the hidden energy you mentioned. Here, that's it. Though speechless, Kakashi patiently explained, gathering chakra in his hand and showing it to him. So that's called chakra. Naruto leaned in and immediately recognized the blue substance as the energy he had channeled at the beginning. Yes, that's called chakra, not ki. Kakashi breathed a sigh of relief, thinking Naruto had realized his mistake. Fortunately, he'd gotten it right. Otherwise, he'd be in for a real headache. But Naruto's next words were a bolt from the blue. But I'm not cultivating that, I'm cultivating ki. Before he could recover from his daze, Naruto closed his eyes. Then, a stream of white gas appeared in his hand. What is this? Kakashi's brows furrowed as he sensed this unknown energy, somewhat resembling chakra, and countless questions filled his mind. What the hell is this? After some explanation, Kakashi finally understood what ki was, but his doubts only grew. Why does the human body contain this energy? How is it cultivated? Who invented this method? This led him to look at the source of all his questions. Mr. Goku, I've always wondered, who are you? Or rather, where are you from? From his attire, to his training methods, even his appetite, Goku was vastly different from the others. This fueled his suspicions. Could there be an unknown land outside the ninja world, where people like Goku live? I'm from Earth. Goku, who had been silently listening to their conversation, smiled innocently, rubbing his head. As for me, I'm probably a traveler now. Goku gazed up at the sky, his gaze seemingly piercing the barriers of the world, gazing upon his friends and family living peacefully on Earth. Earth? Travelers? Hearing the answer, Kakashi suddenly felt his guess was accurate. While he wasn't sure what Earth was, he assumed it was somewhere outside the ninja world. This would explain Goku's differences from them. With this thought, his remaining wariness of Goku vanished. As long as Goku wasn't from another ninja village, he wouldn't do anything to harm them. His previous rescue of Naruto only reinforced this belief. We're back. Naruto flung open the door and swaggered in, head in his hands. He then looked at Yasuna's daughter, Tsuna, and said, Tsuna sister, we're having a snack tonight. Tsuna, who was preparing dinner at the stove, glanced at him in surprise. Snack. Outside, Kakashi gazed at the two enormous wild boars slung across Goku's shoulders, a few drops of sweat running down his forehead. On their way back, Goku had suddenly left, and upon reuniting with him, he discovered he was carrying two large wild boars. He even called it tonight's dinner. This gave him a terrifying thought: could this guy possibly eat as much as he did at lunch every meal? Besides, each of these two wild boars looks like it weighs several thousand pounds. It's one thing for this guy to be able to carry them on his shoulders, but he seems to do it effortlessly. What kind of terrifying strength must that be? This kind of strength would rank him among the best in the ninja world. Although he had a high opinion of Goku's power, he didn't realize that what Goku had just displayed was only the tip of the iceberg. When Goku displayed even greater power in the future, he would be even more astonished. This is too much, isn't it? Tsunami walked outside, her mouth wide open in amazement at the two massive wild boars. They didn't know how long it would take to finish two wild boars this size. You eat this one, Goku said with a smile, placing one on the ground. He then pointed to the other boar on his shoulder. I'll eat this one. Despite his usual carefree demeanor, Goku was actually quite clear-headed. During lunch, he'd noticed the exchange between Desna and Kakashi and learned of the considerable expense Desna's family had put into keeping him well-fed. So, while he was capturing the wild boar for his own dinner, he also caught its mate as a token of his gratitude. Both parties were happy, and a world in which only the wild boar was injured was achieved. In a blink of an eye, the next day arrived. Since Desna was going to build a bridge, Kakashi brought Sasuke and Sakura with him to protect him. He also planned to teach Sasuke and Sakura some chakra training techniques. As for Naruto, he would temporarily leave him in Goku's care. On the one hand, he felt more confident in Goku, confident he wouldn't do anything to harm Naruto. On the other hand, Naruto was determined to cultivate his ki, and he wanted to see what Naruto could achieve. If nothing worked, he could continue his chakra training. On the other hand, Zabuza sent Haku to gather intelligence on them. Please collect and read. Chapter 6, The war is about to begin, and everyone's efforts. Kakashi stood guard at the bridge. While keeping an eye on the situation, he observed Sasuke and Sakura's tree climbing training. Tree climbing involves focusing chakra on the soles of your feet and climbing up a tree simply by absorbing their feet against a trunk. This training primarily cultivates chakra control. For Sakura, it was a novel but not difficult training method. As for Sasuke, tisk, I didn't expect I'd lose to this woman in this area, Sasuke thought to himself as he watched Sakura successfully climb and perch on a branch, while Sasuke, having failed and fallen, fell mid-climb. That Naruto guy, instead of training properly, I wonder what he's doing with that Son Goku. Never mind, why should I care about him? Training is more important. I can't lose to a woman. How else can I avenge myself on that man? At this thought, a slight cloud appeared in his eyes, but it quickly ignited into a blazing flame of fighting spirit. Watching the two diligently training, Kakashi's eyes flickered with relief, and then his thoughts turned to Naruto. Naruto, can you successfully cultivate that so-called chi in the forest? Naruto, though dark circles formed under his eyes, was incredibly energetic. He repeatedly channeled and retracted his chi in front of Goku, channeling and retracting it again. His performance was far more proficient than yesterday. Goku, look how much stronger I am now, aren't I? After repeating this countless times, Naruto grinned, revealing a row of bright white teeth. He had spent almost the entire night last night practicing chi control, striving to rapidly strengthen himself. It was his tireless dedication that enabled him to perform so well. You're amazing, Naruto. Goku was always generous with his praise for his juniors. Naruto flashed a goofy grin at Goku's affirmation. So, can I now catch a sword with one finger like you? After a silly grin, Naruto seemed to remember something and asked with anticipation. Well, I'm afraid not yet, Goku said, rubbing his nose. Your ki isn't strong right now. You need to cultivate it. You can only do that once your ki is strong. Huh? Naruto's face fell at the refusal, but he quickly perked up and said, in hands, huh? I'm Uzumaki Naruto, the man who wants to be Hokage. How can such a small thing be too difficult for me? As both sides were busy with their own affairs, an uninvited guest arrived not far from the bridge, hiding in the shadows and observing Kakashi and the others. Are you not together? Haku, who claimed to be Zabuza's tool, arrived at dawn on Zabuza's orders to gather intelligence on the enemy. After discovering his target wasn't in the village, he arrived. However, it wasn't what he had expected. The mysterious man calling himself Son Goku wasn't there. Furthermore, a Konoha Genin had also disappeared. Where did those two go? Earlier in the village, he'd learned through indirect inquiries that Goku and Naruto had been with Kakashi and the others that morning. But now, they were nowhere to be seen. After observing for a while longer, Haku left. He had to find out where the missing two had gone so he could provide Zabuza-sama with complete intelligence. So, he began searching the area, trying to find any trace of them. When he reached a spot farther from the bridge but closer to the village, he suddenly heard a noise nearby. 85, 86, 87, in an open space, Naruto, carrying a half-meter wide stone on his back, hopped around in circles. His face flushed, his body drenched in sweat, his legs trembling. But his eyes were determined, and he gritted his teeth, persevering. Finally, when the count reached 100, he unloaded the stone and collapsed to the ground with a thud, sprawling. Who? He gasped, his entire body aching. Goku, is this really going to work? He tilted his head to look at Goku, who was leaning against a tree, munching on fruit. Earlier, Goku had told him that to grow stronger, he needed to strengthen his body. To that end, Goku had found a large rock and had him do frog jumps with it on his back. He had just completed 10 sets of training, each consisting of 100 frog jumps. Done wrong bites the way it is, Goku swallowed the fruit, tossing the core aside, and continued, "That's how Master Roshi trained me. Thinking about it now, I really miss it." A flicker of nostalgia crossed his face, and he could almost see himself training with Krillin under Master Roshi as a child. "Who is Master Roshi?" Naruto asked curiously. "He's the one who taught me martial arts, a very powerful old man." Speaking of Master Roshi, Goku imagined a mischievous old man, standing on a turtle with a tortoise shell on his back, making a V sign. It was thanks to Master Roshi's teachings that he had achieved what he had today. "Oh, of course. Goku, you're so amazing, your sensei must be pretty amazing too," Naruto said, stroking his head and smiling. Then, he stood up, clenched his fists, and said with a fierce determination, "I want to be amazing too. Only then will I be worthy of becoming Hokage." With that, he once again shouldered the boulder and resumed his frog jump training. Seeing him continue training, Goku smiled slightly, then glanced somewhere in the forest before scratching his head and looking away. Whoosh! In the forest, Bai leaped from branch to branch, a hint of confusion on his face. Did he notice me just now, or not? If he did, why didn't he catch up? Just now, he had followed the sound and spotted Naruto performing frog jumps in a clearing. He had also spotted one of the most important targets of this trip, Son Goku. So, he hid in the forest, observing the two men's movements. Upon discovering Naruto was actually training with Goku, he was puzzled. Isn't this a Konoha Genin? Why would he leave his companions and come train with this mysterious man? Just as he was about to wait and see what was going on, he suddenly noticed Goku glancing in his direction. Thinking he'd been spotted, he turned and fled without a second thought. He'd expected the enemy to catch up, potentially leading to a fierce battle. But to his surprise, there was no movement behind him, the enemy hadn't even caught up. Forget it, I'd better return quickly and inform Zabuza-sama of this. If they're still separated like this tomorrow, Zabuza-sama has a much better chance of completing his mission. It was already past noon. By the time he returned to inform Zabuza of the situation, it would likely be dark by the time they set out again. Perhaps the enemy had already returned to the village. Therefore, today wasn't the best time to engage in battle. Tomorrow morning, he and Zabuza could arrive together, and if the enemy had separated, as they had today, it would be the perfect time to complete their mission. Soon, the third day arrived. Naruto, his aching body dragged, continued his training under Goku's guidance. Kakashi, Sasuke and Sakura continued to the bridge to protect Dasna. Meanwhile, Zabuza followed Haku to the bridge and sneered at Dasna standing there. "Today, I will take your head." Mission accomplished. Please bookmark and read. Chapter 7, The Belated Goku and Naruto. On the bridge, Dasna persevered in his work. Not far away, Sasuke and Sakura diligently practiced climbing a tree. Kakashi leaned against a tree, one hand in his pocket, the other cradling a book, seemingly absorbed in his reading. In reality, he was preoccupied with keeping a vigilant eye on his surroundings. He would react instantly to any sign of trouble and respond promptly. His vigilance stemmed from a knowledge that Zabuza would attack them the moment he saw they were alone. If he hadn't attacked yesterday, there was a high probability he would attack today. Therefore, he braced himself for battle, awaiting Zabuza's attack. Just as everything seemed peaceful, his eyes flickered. In a flash, he reached the edge of the bridge. As he reached the edge, two figures, one large and one small, appeared before him. It was Zabuza and his tool, Shiro. Whoosh! Whoosh! Sasuke and Sakura, noticing the commotion, immediately stopped their training and rushed over. They stood beside Kakashi, watching Zabuza and Haku warily. Is there another person? Kakashi glanced at the masked Haku, his eyes narrowing. Judging from his build, he's probably around the same age as Naruto and Sasuke, but I don't know how strong he is. After a quick thought, Kakashi gave the order, Sakura, protect Mr. Dazna. Sasuke, I'll handle Zabuza. Keep an eye on the man next to Zabuza. Sakura stepped back, approaching Dazna, who was watching nervously from the bridge. Sasuke nodded silently, his eyes coldly fixed on Haku. Haku, it looks like you've found your match, Zabuza sneered at Kakashi's instructions. I just wonder how long you can hold out. He knew Haku's strength well, and knew that facing a Jonin like Sasuke would be like playing with him. I will definitely help Zabuza-sama complete his mission, Haku replied from beneath his mask. Immediately, he moved, Kyune in hand, charging at Sasuke. HMPH. Just in time, Sasuke muttered, also wielding a Kyune. The two engaged in a fierce battle. Elsewhere, to complete the mission as quickly as possible and prevent Goku from arriving for reinforcement, Zabuza had no time to observe Haku's battle. Instead, he quickly cast the mist hiding technique to envelop himself in Kakashi. Kakashi, I didn't get to meet you properly last time. This time, I'll see for myself if the legendary copy ninja truly lives up to his reputation. Zabuza's voice echoed disembodiedly through the thick fog. Kakashi raised his forward protector, revealing an ominous, blood-red Sharingan. Perfect. I had the same thought. 77, 78, 79. In the forest, Naruto squatted, holding onto the large rock from yesterday. Both yesterday's and today's training had worked multiple areas of his body. According to Goku, good training is one that targets multiple areas simultaneously. This was something Master Kame had taught him. Off to the side, Goku still leaned against a tree, munching on the wild fruits he'd picked in the forest. Fruit pits had already piled up like a mountain beside him, revealing how much fruit had been lost in the forest. As he ate, he glanced in the direction of Kakashi and the others. It was as if his gaze was piercing the forest, witnessing the clash between Kakashi and his companions in Zabuza. That guy's key last time, he muttered, then glanced back at Naruto, who was training. I'll tell him after he finishes training. Not long after, Naruto finished his set and lay on the ground, gasping for air. How are you? 17 more. His goal for the day was 20 sets of weighted squats, and he'd only just finished a third, leaving him far from his goal. I'm so tired, but I can feel my ki growing a little bit. Looks like I'll soon defeat Sasuke and become Hokage, he thought happily. Naruto, that guy from last time is back again, Goku suddenly said. Huh? Who? His reverie interrupted. Naruto looked at Goku blankly. The guy I fought last time, the guy Goku fought? After a few seconds of his sluggish mind slowing down, Naruto's mind faltered before a name came to mind. The demon Zabuza. He suddenly leaped up, unsheathed his Kyune, and looked around. Where is he? His face was filled with excitement. After a day of hard training, Naruto should be able to fight Zabuza. Over there with Kakashi, Goku said, pointing in a direction. Seeing Goku's direction, Naruto wanted to rush over, but the next second he froze. Where's he? Over there with Kakashi-sensei? Goku, how did you know Zabuza went to Kakashi-sensei's place? He looked at Goku blankly. Well, you can sense the opponent using your ki. Goku pointed between his eyebrows. Then why can't I? Naruto tried, but found he couldn't sense anything. Because it requires further training, Goku explained. Is that so? Naruto nodded thoughtfully, his face then darkening. Then let's go to Kakashi-sensei now. I can't be without you in this battle. With that, he prepared to leave. But Goku suddenly appeared in front of him, stopping him in his tracks. Are you going over? Then hold my hand, huh? A question mark suddenly crossed Naruto's mind. But out of the trust he had in Goku over the past 2 days, he hesitantly took Goku's hand. Goku raised his other hand, a sword finger raised, and placed it on his forehead. The next moment, swish! The two figures vanished from their original position, On the battlefield by the bridge, Sasuke, covered in wounds, stared across at the nearly unscathed Haku with a look of dismay. I'm still too weak. At first, he could still fight Haku back and forth. But ever since Haku performed a one-handed seal, he was completely at a disadvantage. Elsewhere, in the thick fog, Kakashi and Zabuza engaged in a fierce battle, exchanging deadly moves. Suddenly, during a series of exchanges of attack and defense, Kakashi was accidentally kicked by Zabuza and fell into a puddle. That was Zabuza's Water Dragon Bullet Blast. Water style, water prison jutsu, huh? Not good. Just as Kakashi tried to stand, the water in the puddle suddenly surged forward, forming a ball of water that instantly enveloped him. Zabuza, maintaining the water prison jutsu behind him, sneered. You've been hacked again, Kakashi. Now you can't stop me from killing that old man. Just as he created a water clone, hoping to complete his mission in one go. Where are we? Why is it so foggy? I can't see a thing. A slightly childish voice suddenly rang out from the fog. Then, whoosh! A strong wind blew from nowhere, instantly dispersing the dense fog. As the fog cleared, two figures, one large and one small, appeared in the distance. They were Goku and Naruto, who had just arrived at the scene. Goku paused to exhale, touched his nose, and smiled innocently. Now you can see, right? Please bookmark and read. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8. Wow, so much water. When the thick fog cleared, Naruto stared at Goku with his mouth wide open in shock. Just like that, it blew away. Having never seen anything like this before, he felt his brain freeze. But his shock didn't last long before he noticed Kakashi trapped ahead and Sasuke, covered in wounds, on the other side. Kakashi-sensei. Sasuke, everyone's eyes turned to them. Some were confused, some were bewildered, and some were relieved. How did they get here so quickly? Zabuza looked at them, bewildered. According to Haku's intelligence, the two should be training far away. Even if they received Kakashi's message and rushed here immediately, they couldn't have been so fast. Also, what was that gust of wind just now? He didn't sense any chakra fluctuations in that gust of wind, so it couldn't be some kind of large-scale wind jutsu. And if it wasn't a wind jutsu, how did it come from? Hey! Are you taking a bath? Goku greeted Kakashi in the water ball. Kakashi was secretly thankful that Goku had arrived just in time, but upon hearing this, his mouth twitched and he said helplessly, I'm trapped by the enemy. Is that so? Goku scratched his face adorably innocent. I thought you were taking a bath. Nearby, Naruto, unable to contain his excitement, formed hand seals and shouted, multiple shadow clone jutsu, bang, bang, bang. In an instant, dozens of Narutos appeared. We'll go rescue Kakashi-sensei, you go support Sasuke. After assigning their tasks, the Narutos charged towards Zabuza and Haku, creating a spectacular spectacle. Amazing. Tien Shinhan's four-body fist can only split into 4 people, but Naruto can create so many, Goku exclaimed in amazement, witnessing the multiple shadow clone jutsu for the first time. Watch me, charge, the Narutos roared, charging towards their respective opponents, ready to unleash their prowess. However, bang bang, bang. All the shadow clones, upon reaching their opponents, were blasted apart, dissipating in a puff of white mist. That hurts. Naruto's true form, caught on the midst of the shadow clones, was sent flying by Zabuza's water clone. What a fool, Kakashi watched the scene with a scowl. Naruto couldn't even defeat Haku, let alone Zabuza. Who had the guts to take on 2 enemies at once? Naruto, just go support Sasuke. You don't have to worry about me, Kakashi said as Naruto climbed to his feet. Naruto glanced at Kakashi, then at Goku behind him. As if understanding something, he patted his chest and declared, alright, Kakashi-sensei, I'll take care of Sasuke. With that, he charged towards the battle between Sasuke and Haku. Mr. Goku, I'm sorry, but I think I'll have to trouble you to protect Mr. Dasna. After Naruto left, Kakashi looked at Goku and said, no problem. I haven't exercised in 2 days, and I feel like my body is resting. Goku touched the tip of his nose and readily agreed. Water style, Water Dragon Bullet Jutsu. Sensing something was amiss, Zabuza took the initiative, using his water clone to fire a much weakened water dragon bullet at Goku. Then, the water clone rushed towards Nazna, who was not far away. As long as he completed his mission, he could retreat calmly. Even facing two opponents at once, he was confident he could escape. A small water dragon rushed towards Goku with its fangs and claws bared. Just as it was about to collide with Goku, Goku suddenly disappeared. The water dragon crashed to the ground, transforming into a puddle. "Wow, so much water," Goku, who had appeared nearby, exclaimed at the puddle. Then, he noticed the movements of Zabuza's water clone. With another flash, he was behind the water clone in the blink of an eye, gently striking it with a sword. Wow! The water clone had no time to react, and was shattered into a stream of water. Amazing! Turned into water again, seeing Zabuza transformed into water again, Goku couldn't help but be deeply intrigued by the fighting style of this world. "Hey, let him go and fight me for a few moves," he turned and said to Zabuza's true form. "You mean Kakashi won't interfere in our fight?" "Of course, this is a fight between the two of us." Upon hearing Goku's answer, Zabuza's face changed from gloomy to uncertain. He didn't want to let Kakashi go, nor did he believe Goku's words, but at this moment, he seemed to have no choice. With a water clone alone, he had no chance of killing Nazna. More importantly, he didn't believe he could maintain the water prison jutsu under Goku's attack. "So, you better keep your word," Zabuza said coldly. With a pull of his hand, the water prison jutsu instantly lost its hold. Kakashi, trapped in the water ball, immediately escaped and flashed to Goku's side. "Thank you for this time," Kakashi thanked Goku, gazing at Zabuza. "Together, the two of us can definitely subdue him quickly." He believed Zabuza had been forced to release him, not because of Goku's challenge. Therefore, a combined effort of two men would have no problem taking on Zabuza. But then, unexpectedly, "This is a fight between him and me. You don't have to fight." Goku placed a hand on his shoulder, his tone unwavering, a tone unlike his usual naivete. "Mr. Goku, you..." Before he could finish, Goku stepped forward and gave Zabuza a white hook. "Hey, let's get started." Zabuza, expecting a combined attack from both, raised an eyebrow in surprise. "Sun Wukong, I acknowledge you, but you'll regret this." As soon as he finished speaking, he formed hand seals. Water style, water dragon bullet technique. Instantly, a ferocious water dragon, several times larger than the previous one, appeared from thin air and hurtled towards Wukong with lightning speed. "Ah, that was a close call. I almost got hit." In mid-air, Wukong looked down at the water dragon below and wiped the non-existent sweat from his forehead. Just then, he leaped up, just avoiding the dragon's impact. "You've left a flaw, Sun Wukong." At that moment, Zabuza suddenly appeared behind him, slashing down with his sword. Swoosh! However, after a sharp sound, the sword struck nothing but air. Zabuza's pupils shrank, sensing danger, and he instantly activated his substitution technique. Bang! A massive foot suddenly descended from behind, striking directly at his wooden substitute. "Huh? He can turn into wood." Goku appeared in mid-air and exclaimed in surprise upon seeing Zabuza transformed into a log. On the ground, Zabuza, having escaped death through the substitution jutsu, heard Goku's exclamation and his eyes twitched. Who the hell is he? He doesn't even know a substitution jutsu. Seeing that Goku hadn't even landed yet, he seized the opportunity and quickly formed hand seals. Water style, great waterfall jutsu. Instantly, a massive column of water erupted from his mouth, washing over Goku in mid-air with a powerful aura. Seeing this, Goku condensed a ki bullet in his hand and threw it at the water column. Bang! The ki bullet exploded like a bomb, instantly shattering the water column. A cloud of mist sprayed everywhere, creating a magnificent rainbow in the sunlight. However, Zabuza was in no mood to watch. He stared intently at the newly landed Goku, his face filled with solemnity. What on earth was that thing just now? Chapter 9: The Meaning of Existence? Hoo on the field, Naruto and Sasuke panted, drenched in sweat. "He's so strong." Naruto looked at Haku with a serious expression. After he joined the fray, he'd managed to keep Haku at bay through coordinated efforts with Sasuke. But after all those rounds, Haku had only sustained a few superficial wounds. Meanwhile, they were both covered in wounds. "You're powerful, but I can't drag this on any longer." Across from them, Haku glanced at Zabuza's battlefield in the distance, knowing he had to end the fight quickly. He formed hand seals and chanted, "Secret technique." Magic mirror ice crystal. As soon as he finished speaking, dozens of shimmering ice mirrors rose from all sides, surrounding Naruto and Sasuke, while Haku himself disappeared into the mirrors. What is this? Naruto and Sasuke looked around, alarm bells ringing. The next moment, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Thousands of senbon shot out from the ice mirrors in all directions, piercing them at speeds too fast for them to react. Wah. How should I know? Sasuke replied grumpily. It seems you still refuse to give up. Seeing the two of them stand up bravely, Haku sighed helplessly. Of course. We have people we want to protect. Naruto wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said with determination. People you want to protect. After hearing Naruto's resounding response, Haku's eyes vacant beneath his mask. He remembered that when he was a child, he also wanted to protect people, his mother and father. Unfortunately, his father killed his mother, and he accidentally killed his father. Overnight, he became a homeless orphan. Until Zabuza found him and took him away, giving him new meaning in life. From then on, he only had one person he wanted to protect, Zabuza-sama. After regaining his composure, he looked at Naruto and whispered, I have people I want to protect too. The next moment, a large number of senbon appeared again, flying towards Naruto and Sasuke like a swarm of wild bees. Earth-style, earth-flow wall. At the critical moment, two figures suddenly appeared in front of and behind the two men, quickly forming hand seals and slapping the ground. Instantly, two semicircular earth walls rose up, blocking all incoming senbon attacks. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto exclaimed in surprise upon seeing the familiar figure before him. Looks like I'm not too late after all. Kakashi released his shadow clone and chuckled at the two men. Having accepted Goku's desire to fight alone, he rushed over. As soon as he arrived, he noticed that Naruto and Sasuke were in danger. He created a shadow clone and used the flickering body technique to descend upon the battlefield, using two earthflow walls to protect them in time. Kakashi-sensei, the opponent is very strong. As much as I hate to say so, I don't think we can defeat him, Sasuke said after a moment's silence, looking at Kakashi. Even as proud as he was, he had to admit that the opponent before him was not his match for the time being. Sasuke. How could you give up so quickly? Naruto, always unyielding, jumped up at Sasuke's discouraged words. HMPH. Idiot, what did you say? With a newfound confidence, the two men began bickering again. Alright, both of you, stop it, Kakashi said, feeling a headache. Then, his gaze fixed, as if sensing something, he left the protection of the earth wall and peered outside. Suddenly, the ice mirror vanished, and Haku's figure vanished as well. Startled, he glanced towards Sakura and Asuna, sighing with relief to see them safe. Then, looking around, he spotted Haku's figure on the battlefield between Goku and Zabuza. Time flashed back a moment. When Goku blasted the water column with his key bullet, Zabuza's heart sank. He realized Goku's move didn't require any hand seals. A jutsu without hand seals. In the ninja world, almost all ninjutsu require hand seals, but a very few don't, known as no-seal ninjutsu. Because these ninjutsu are so rare, he himself had only heard of them. He hadn't expected to stumble upon one today. Hey, do you have any other moves? After detonating the water column, Goku landed on the ground, hands on his hips. If not, you're going to lose, he said, his expression sincere, his words deeply hurting Zabuza. Damn it. Don't underestimate me, you bastard. Enraged, Zabuza didn't bother to think about no-seal ninjutsu. He raised his sword and slashed at Goku. But before he could strike, his eyes bulged, and he doubled over like a cooked shrimp. A fist slowly yanked out from his abdomen. It belonged to Goku. Ugh. After Goku withdrew his fist, Zabuza slowly knelt, clutching his stomach, his face etched with pain. Damn it. You, how could you be so strong? He suppressed the pain and looked up at Wukong with a ferocious expression, his eyes filled with disbelief. He was actually knocked down by a single punch. At that moment, a strong wind suddenly blew past. Then a figure blocked his way and said, Sorry, Master Zabuza, I'm late. Ahem, Shiro, what are you doing here? Zabuza's eyes flickered with an inexplicable color as he looked at the familiar figure before him. I'm here to protect you, Master Zabuza, Shiro said, tilting his head slightly. However, Zabuza refused to accept Bai's kindness, saying in a cold tone, Tisk, I don't need your protection, but, no buts. Get out of here. After a moment's silence, Bai whispered, Zabuza-sama, ever since I became an orphan, unwanted and uncared for, I've been unable to find the meaning of my existence. It wasn't until you accepted me that I realized I still had a little meaning. The meaning of my existence is to protect you and be your tool, and now, you've stripped me of that meaning, and I have no reason to live in this world anymore." As soon as he finished speaking, Bai drew his kunai and slashed it across his neck. Bai, seeing this, Zabuza's pupils constricted, and he roared. As Bai spoke his heart out, his eyes remained calm, but his involuntarily clenched fists betrayed his inner turmoil. Outsiders knew he was a cold-blooded killer, but few knew he was not heartless. Although he initially viewed Bai as a mere tool, his long companionship had culminated in his treating her like a family member. So, realizing Goku's strength was far beyond his and Bai's reach, he intended to force Bai to abandon him and retreat. But he hadn't expected Bai to speak so movingly, and even to act so forcefully. He tried to stop her, but his body was unable to move, and he could only watch helplessly as Bai brought the kunai down on his neck. Just then, Goku, who had been silently listening to their conversation, suddenly reached out and stopped Bai. He then placed his other hand on Bai's head and closed his eyes. Somehow, Bai didn't resist, simply staring at Goku silently. After a while, Goku opened his eyes, looked at Bai seriously, and said, "I understand what you've been through. Grandpa Roshi once told me something, and I've always kept it in mind. It was, exercise well, study hard, play well, eat well, and rest well, live a happy, interesting, and energetic life." Chapter 10 Master Roshi, Am I Dead? When Goku articulated Master Roshi's classic philosophy, Shira's calm expression shifted noticeably. Not only that, but even Zabuza, who was standing nearby, and Kakashi, Naruto, and Sasuke, who had just arrived nearby, reacted in their own ways. Exercise well, study hard, and do well, live a happy, interesting, and energetic life. Kakashi repeated the words, his eyes bright with admiration. This Master Roshi appears to be a master who has reached a very high spiritual level. Naruto, beside him, clenched his chin and nodded seriously. Well, isn't it my life now? He'd been doing sit-ups regularly, and had been training with weights the past couple of days, considerable exercise. And studying, of course, was just that. He'd taken the initiative to seek out Goku for advice on key training. As for playing, well, that graffiti on the Hokage rock earlier should count, right? As for eating and resting, he seemed to have done that as well. So, in summary, he was, as Kakashi-sensei had said, a master. How he couldn't help but smirk at the thought. Seeing him like this, Sasuke turned his head away and grumbled, "Idiot." Meanwhile, he thought to himself, fun and interesting, ever since that man did that, I've lost him in my life. With a snap, Bai slowly peeled off the mask, revealing a face so stunningly beautiful it would put the moon to shame. Woman? A woman, Naruto exclaimed after seeing Bai's face. He had never imagined that the one who had so brutally tormented him and Sasuke was actually a girl of their own age. Just as shocked as he was, Sasuke, who had glanced over at the shout, was also shocked. I lost to a woman again. He clenched his fists, his heart filled with resentment towards himself. Losing to Sakura in the tree climbing contest was bad enough, but now he was even losing in combat to a girl his own age. He was so weak, when would he ever get his revenge on that man? Just when he was about to become unable to bear his own weakness, Bai's answer calmed him down a bit. "No, I'm a boy," Bai said, smiling softly at Naruto. Then, turning to Goku, he asked sincerely, "Excuse me, who is this Roshi-sensei you're talking about, and where does he live? If possible, I'd like to ask him some questions in person." Hearing this, Goku scratched his face in confusion. About that, he quickly asked in his mind if Shenlong could send Roshi-sensei to him or Bai to him. After getting a negative answer, he smiled embarrassedly. "You probably won't see him anymore." After hearing the answer, Bai felt a little disappointed, thinking that Master Roshi had passed away, so he didn't ask any more questions, and turned to look at Zabuza, who had been silent all the time. "Sir Zabuza, do you like this kind of life, or rather, do you accept me living this kind of life with you?" Zabuza looked at Bai, then at Goku and Kakashi and others who were surrounding him, and sneered, "Bai, you are too naive. Do you think they won't kill us?" Before Bai could answer, Goku looked at him strangely and said, "You are not very bad people. Why should I kill you?" Kakashi on the side glanced at the dense but non-fatal wounds on Naruto and Sasuke's bodies, and stood up to agree, "As long as you no longer want to kill Mr. Dazna, we can let you go." After hearing what the two said, Bai looked at Zabuza and smiled, as if to say, "Sir Zabuza, do you still have any reason to refuse now?" Just as Zabuza's expression shifted between gloom and content, a brash voice from a distance caught everyone's attention. "Tisk tisk, isn't that the famous Karigakure demon? How did he get beaten to his knees? Look at him, doesn't he look like a dog now?" "Ha ha ha." A short, stout man in sunglasses and a suit strode from the bridge, laughing heartily at his hundreds of followers. He was the mastermind behind hiring Zabuza and his men to assassinate Asuna, one of the richest men in the ninja world, Kato. His immense wealth was amassed by controlling the sea routes of island nations like the Wave Country. The bridge built by Asuna would connect the Wave Country with the mainland, jeopardizing his control over it and thwarting his plans to amass wealth. That's why he'd spent a fortune hiring ninjas to assassinate Asuna. With Asuna's death, the bridge would cease construction, and his plans to amass wealth would continue as normal. But Zabuza's repeated failures, along with several others, had disillusioned him with a ninja's strength. So, he secretly hired a large number of wandering samurai, intending to seize the opportunity when both sides were equally devastated to destroy them in one fell swoop. This would not only fulfill his plan but also save the expense of hiring Zabuza, killing two birds with one stone. His men, upon hearing his joking laughter, chimed in with a grimace. Yeah, what the hell? I could take him down with one hand." Facing this barrage of taunts, Zabuza ignored them, his head lowered in thought. Seeing his silence, Cardo lost interest and turned to Asuna at the back of the group with a wicked grin. "Old man, look who these two are." He clapped his hands, and his men emerged from the crowd, escorting two figures. Tsunami. Inari, Asuna, who had been watching Cardo's arrival with composure. He assumed that since even a powerful ninja like Zabuza had been defeated, the men Cardo had brought with him wouldn't be able to cause much trouble. But he hadn't expected Cardo to be so despicable as to secretly capture his daughter and grandson. "Old man, if you want them alive, kill yourself," Cardo said, drawing his knife and placing it against Inari's neck. To increase his leverage, he had already captured Asuna's daughter and grandson before arriving. While he could use these leverage now, he couldn't resist seeing what Asuna would choose, so he decided to use it. "You despicable villain," Asuna exclaimed, trying to step forward, but Sakura held him back. "Mr. Asuna, Kakashi-sensei and the others will definitely save Tsuna-san and Inari." Seeing that Asuna wouldn't obey, Cardo raised his knife, his face stern, and said, "It seems you want your grandson dead." He then made a move to strike. At this critical moment, Goku suddenly appeared before him, reached out and grabbed his sword, then exerted force. Crack! The steel-hard weapon was crushed as easily as a piece of tofu by this fleshy hand. "You're truly abominable." Goku loosened his grip, and many fragments fell from his grasp. You, Cardo, terrified, paled and retreated. Just then, Kakashi appeared, rescuing Tsunami and Inari. Seeing his chips gone, and remembering the hundreds of wandering samurai behind him, Cardo roared in rage, "All of you! Kill them all!" At the boss's command, his men charged at Goku, brandishing their weapons. But then, Goku clenched his fists and roared, a powerful aura suddenly emanating from him. This momentum seemed to solidify into substance, charging towards the wandering warriors with overwhelming force. Chapter 11 Sasuke joins the training. 2 days later, Goku, Kakashi, and Naruto stood at the door of the Asuna residence, bidding farewell to the Asuna family, Zabuza, and Haku. Mr. Goku, thank you so much. Asuna squeezed Goku's hands tightly, his gratitude overflowing with words. Knowing that Cardo was wealthy, Goku thoughtfully gifted the impoverished Asuna family a windfall that would have made anyone envious. This windfall was Cardo's entire fortune. When Asuna learned of this, he nearly knelt before Goku. Fortunately, he still had some sense, realizing the weight of this fortune was a hot potato. If the family had taken it, the grass on their graves would have been a meter tall by next year. So, he accepted the meager gift. Even this small amount would have been enough to keep his family financially secure for 10 years. Mr. Goku, I'm also grateful to you, and to that old man I've never met, Haku said, stepping forward and bowing to Goku. Goku's retelling of Master Kame's words rekindled his budding desire for death. He suddenly felt that life didn't need any meaning, all he needed to do was enjoy everything he had and live happily. Of course, he still couldn't let go of Zabuza. That's why he invited him to live the life Master Kame had described. Thankfully, After much hesitation, Zabuza agreed. He explained that he was feeling a bit tired and wanted a change of pace, not that he was enjoying living with Haku. "You're also polite, haha," Goku said, rubbing his head and grinning. "It's almost time, we have to go," Kakashi said to Goku, glancing at the sun. At Naruto's invitation, Goku decided to join them on their journey to Konoha village. While allowing such a powerful outsider to enter Konoha was risky, after a few days of interaction, Kakashi concluded that Goku wouldn't pose a danger. He acquiesced to Naruto's invitation and even decided to vouch for Goku once they arrived. "Yo, let's go then." Goku waved goodbye to Desna and the others, and immediately set off for Konoha with Kakashi and the others. Meanwhile, in the fields not far from Desna's house. "Hurry up. Why are you dawdling? If you don't finish harvesting this wheat field before noon, you won't be eating tonight." Several burly villagers surrounded Cardo, shouting at him angrily. Cardo was sweating profusely, looking extremely disheveled. His once sparkling suit was smeared with dirt, and his sunglasses were missing. He stared at the endless wheat fields, and couldn't help but wail inwardly, "When will this end?" On the way, Sasuke glanced at Goku, then at Naruto. Then, suddenly, he said, "Hey, Naruto, you've been sneaking out these past few days to train with Goku, right?" Naruto hadn't mentioned a single word about training to him. But his keen observation skills still caught a few clues. For example, every time Naruto returned from an outing with Goku, he was filthy and exuded a pungent odor of sweat. This was especially common during training. Furthermore, Naruto's chopsticks often trembled slightly when he picked up his bowl and chopsticks to eat, indicating that his arms were overdrawn, making it difficult for him to hold things steadily. This was also very likely to happen during training. Furthermore, the fact that Kakashi had only been training him and Sakura in tree climbing for the past 2 days, without Naruto, was also telling. Naruto had been walking excitedly ahead, happily contemplating what flavor of Ichiriko ramen he would have when he returned to the village. Hearing Sasuke suddenly expose his secret, he stumbled. "You, how did you know?" He turned around and pointed at Sasuke in disbelief. Then, as if reminiscent of something, he glanced at Kakashi with a sullen expression, angrily declaring, "Kakashi-sensei, you promised me a secret." He believed he'd kept it well, and since Goku spent most of his time with him, there wasn't much chance he'd reveal it. So, the only person who could have leaked it was Kakashi, who spent most of his time with Sasuke and the others. And Kakashi had clearly promised him not to tell anyone. Hearing Naruto's question, Kakashi's lips twitched, feeling incredibly innocent. "Naruto, I didn't say that." He spread his hands, looking innocent. Hearing Kakashi's denial, Naruto was bewildered. If Kakashi hadn't leaked the secret, how had Sasuke known? Idiot. Seeing him like that, Sasuke couldn't help but curl his lips. Just as Naruto was about to explode with rage, he asked, "What were you training with Goku?" "Damn Sasuke. I won't tell you." Naruto refused to answer without a second thought. But he didn't expect someone else to answer for him. "Naruto is training with me and Ki." Goku, who had been watching from behind, suddenly said. "Ki? What is that?" Despite hearing the answer, Sasuke was completely bewildered. He racked his brain over what he'd learned, only to discover he'd never heard of it before. "Let me tell you, Ki is," Kakashi, feeling ready to make his debut, explained before Goku could even begin. He knew Sasuke would, after hearing Goku's explanation, mistakenly assume Ki was chakra, as he had done before. By letting him explain, he could avoid that misunderstanding. Sasuke's eyes lit up as Kakashi spoke. Lately, he'd been feeling increasingly weak and wanted to find a way to grow stronger faster. Would this newfound knowledge of Ki clearly help him improve? Furthermore, Goku was a powerful master, capable of defeating Zabuza with a single blow. Training with him would undoubtedly yield significant improvements. With this in mind, he asked Goku without hesitation, "Goku, I want to become even stronger. I want to learn about chi. Can you teach me?" Meanwhile, Naruto, grieving alone in a corner after accepting his secret's exposure, heard Sasuke's request to Goku, and he surprisingly hoped Goku would agree. Perhaps it was because he knew what his comrade cared. "HMPH, you stinky Sasuke. Even if you join me, I won't lose to you," he thought. Goku, after gazing at Sasuke for a moment, nodded. Of course, he could sense Sasuke's potential, and he saw a burning desire to become stronger in his eyes. Others might have valued these 2 points, but for him, they were unimportant. He would generously teach anyone who sincerely asked. Overhearing their conversation, Kakashi felt a wave of confusion. He was the teacher, so why were all his students seeking advice from others? Did he, as a teacher, have no respect for his dignity? Only when he saw Sakura, who had remained silent the entire time, did he feel a sense of relief. Sakura was indeed kind, knowing how to save his face. But just then, Sakura spoke up. Goku-sensei, I, too, would like to practice ki with you. In the original novel, the deaths of Haku and Zabuza were tragic. This time, thanks to Goku's intervention, history has been rewritten. With Haku no longer struggling with the meaning of human existence, and Zabuza finally able to face his feelings for Haku. This should be considered a relatively happy ending, right? Chapter 12, Sarutobi Hiruzen sneezing wildly. In Konoha village, in the Hokage's office, an elderly man with a goatee and a white robe put down his work and gazed out the window. According to the time, Kakashi and Naruto should have returned days ago. Why haven't they arrived yet? He was Konoha's third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, nicknamed the Professor of Ninjutsu. Following the passing of the fourth Hokage, Namikaze Minato, he had once again taken up the reins of Konoha, a position he had diligently held for over a decade. Puffing on a cigarette, he pondered Kakashi and his team's mission. Escort a person from the land of waves back home safely. It was a simple C-rank mission, and nothing should go wrong. Besides, Kakashi's abilities were considerable, capable of handling most emergencies. This was why he felt confident and trusting such a special class to him. Achoo, 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 he suddenly sneezed so hard that his pipe flew out of his mouth. What's going on? Why do I feel so uneasy? After the sneeze, he felt an inexplicable sense of trepidation, as if some danger was about to strike. But soon, the trepidation vanished, as if it had never existed. Puzzled, he called over a few Anbu to inquire about the situation. Finding nothing amiss, they shook their heads and ignored them. Unbeknownst to him, a few minutes earlier. Wow, what a huge gate, on the road outside Konoha's main gate, Goku exclaimed, looking at the gate, over 10 meters high, in the distance. After days of travel, he, Kakashi, and the others had finally arrived. Is this Konoha? He asked, turning his head to Kakashi. Yes, this is Konoha village. It was founded by the first Hokage 60 years ago, Kakashi explained. Goku nodded thoughtfully, then asked, you said before that the Hokage is the most powerful person here. On the way back to the village, Kakashi briefly explained Konoha's current situation to give Goku the basic understanding. He mentioned that the Hokage was the leader of their village and the most powerful individual. Indeed, every Hokage has been the most powerful person in the village. The third Hokage is the current leader, Kakashi replied with a hint of respect. Is that so? Then I must challenge him to a sparring match. Goku rubbed his hands together, his expression slightly excited. During his time in the Naruto world, he'd discovered that while the people there didn't cultivate their ki, he could still judge their strength by their ki strength. The only problem was that their ki strength varied between their normal and combat states, similar to how he suppressed his own ki. Therefore, when he'd been perceiving this world these days, he hadn't sensed anyone with a particularly strong aura, and thus hadn't found anyone with whom to spar. Hearing that someone powerful was nearby, he felt a surge of excitement, feeling like he could finally stretch his body. After all, the battles of the previous 2 days weren't even warm-ups. Hearing Goku's words, Kakashi nearly strained his back. He quickly said, Ahem, Mr. Goku, you absolutely mustn't do such a thing, and don't say it again, it'll make people think you're provoking Konoha, challenging the Hokage's authority. Hearing Kakashi's words, Goku scratched his head, a look of confusion on his face. Huh? Isn't a martial arts exchange normal? Seeing they were near the Konoha gates, Kakashi took a deep breath and spoke rapidly, Mr. Goku, martial arts exchanges are normal, but, in just half a minute. He explained the seriousness of the matter to Goku. He concluded, Hokage-sama is old and can't handle the hardship. This successfully dispelled Goku's desire to challenge the Hokage. Later, he would be deeply grateful for his successful persuasion today. Furthermore, when Sarutobi Hiruzen learned of this, he nearly broke out in a cold sweat, praising Kakashi for being such a good subordinate. Hey, Kakashi, you're back. As they approached the main gate of Konoha, the gatekeepers, Kotetsu and Izumo, noticed them and greeted them. Yes, we're back, Kakashi replied. Who is this? Kotetsu noticed the strangely dressed Goku among them and asked curiously. He's a friend we met on the road, and he's staying in Konoha for a while, He won't register with you. I'll tell you when I report to the Hokage later. Kakashi knew that outsiders wishing to enter Konoha needed to register with Kotetsu and his team. However, Goku's situation was special. He wasn't part of the ninja world. Registering here might attract the attention of those with ulterior motives. Therefore, he decided not to have Goku register, but to report directly to the Hokage himself. Is that so? Okay then. Zatetsu observed Goku again and found that, while he was rather sturdy, he appeared harmless, so he agreed. It didn't matter who registered. And Kakashi wouldn't do something like that to hide his identity. So, what was there to worry about? After Goku, Kakashi, and the others entered the village, Izumo, who had been silent until then, suddenly spoke up. Hey, Zatetsu, I feel like there's something special about that person. Huh? Really? Why can't I sense it? Zatetsu rubbed his head, somewhat bewildered. Haha, maybe my feeling was wrong. Izumo casually dropped the subject, still thinking to himself, there must be something special about this person. My feeling is always right. After entering the village, Kakashi first instructed Naruto and the other two to show Goku around. Then he headed for the Hokage building to report his visit to Sarutobi Hiruzen. In the Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen, having received word of Kakashi and the others' return, sat leisurely in his seat, awaiting Kakashi's arrival. Knock, knock. Soon, there was a knock on the door. Come in, he said, sitting up straight and smiling at Kakashi as he entered. Did your trip go smoothly? I hope Naruto and the others didn't cause you any trouble. Kakashi closed the door and looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen. Hokage-sama, there were some unexpected situations on this trip, but thankfully, they were resolved. He then recounted everything that had transpired. Finally, he added, judging from what Goku-san has said and done, I don't believe he would harm Konoha. Besides, he has helped us many times and is our benefactor. Sarutobi Hiruzen listened quietly, his face expressionless. After Kakashi finished speaking, he tapped the table, pondering for a moment before asking, do you realize the magnitude of the dangers of allowing such a powerful, yet unidentified, individual to stay in Konoha? In his eyes, anything unstable was a ticking time bomb. It could explode at any moment, bringing disaster to Konoha. I know, but I personally guarantee he won't bring any harm to Konoha, Kakashi said solemnly. Although they hadn't spent much time together, for some reason, he simply trusted Goku with all his heart. Perhaps this was Goku's unique charm. I see. Let's let him stay for a while and see. As for where he'll live, Sarutobi Hiruzen was halfway through his words when he noticed dozens of gold bars falling before him. Kakashi collected the scroll containing the gold bars and said to the surprised Sarutobi Hiruzen, this is the money Mr. Goku deposited with me. Hokage-sama should be able to help him find a suitable place to live. Chapter 13, I made money, but my hands were shaking. On a certain street in Konoha village, Naruto pointed ahead, excitedly explaining something to Goku. Goku, look. That's Hokage Rock. Each Hokage has had his face carved into it. My dream is to become the next Hokage, so I can have my face carved into it, too. Isn't that wonderful? Goku gazed curiously at the four enormous faces carved into the rock face before him, nodding thoughtfully. Are these the successive Hokage? What a shame I didn't get to fight them. As soon as he spoke, the villagers on both sides of the street glanced over, their eyes filled with scrutiny and wariness. After all, Goku's attire was completely out of place. If he hadn't been accompanied by three Genin, they would have reported him to the patrolling ninja. Hearing Goku's words, some couldn't contain their excitement and walked towards the patrolling ninja in the distance, ready to report Goku's words. Seeing this, Naruto and the other two exchanged glances, sensing something was amiss. In a split second, the three of them, in perfect unison, pulled Goku along, swiftly fleeing this troubled area. When they reached another street, Naruto and the other two stopped running and stood there, panting heavily. Goku, have you forgotten what Kakashi-sensei told you? Sakura, exhausted, leaning her hands against the wall, panted as she asked Goku. She'd nearly been frightened to death just now. Even though Goku had been brought back by them and Kakashi-sensei, Kakashi wasn't around right now, and the three of them had little influence. If they were summoned for questioning, who knows what might happen. Just then, Goku, barely recovering from his daze, scratched his head and chuckled sheepishly. Haha, sorry, I forgot. It wasn't that he hadn't remembered Kakashi's warning, but he was a belligerent man, and some of the words had slipped out of his mouth. Naruto and the others looked at each other, but they didn't know what to say. After all, they hadn't said anything particularly offensive, the villagers were simply being overly sensitive. As this interlude ended, Naruto suddenly noticed this street looked familiar. Wasn't this where the hand-beating uncle's ramen shop was located? At this thought, his eyes lit up. He remembered that he'd promised to treat Goku to Chiriko ramen. Now was his chance, wasn't it? So, Goku. The best ramen I told you about is right here on this street, come on. I'll treat you to Chiriko ramen. He spoke with such a bold tone, completely oblivious to the strange expressions on Sasuke and Sakura's faces. This guy, has he forgotten how much Goku eats? Can he afford it? Hearing about something delicious, Goku's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly said, "Where's it?" "Right there." Soon, Naruto led Goku to the entrance of a Chiriko ramen. Sasuke and Sakura followed suit. After all, it was already lunchtime, and eating here would allow him to watch Naruto's embarrassing moments. Just thinking about it makes me want to eat. "Uncle, I brought a friend here for ramen." Naruto pulled back the curtain and walked into the shop, shouting to a middle-aged man making ramen in the backstage. This middle-aged man was the owner of a Chiriko ramen, Handeda. Handeda's lips curled slightly at the familiar voice and looked towards Naruto. "Naruto, you haven't been here for a while." Naruto smiled happily as he sat down on a high stool. "Uncle, I was out of the village on a mission. I just got back this morning and came to eat here right away, and I brought a friend here. I told him your ramen is the best. Uncle, you have to make it well later so my friend can taste your cooking." Following him, Goku, Sasuke, and Sakura also sat on high stools, curiously observing everything in the shop. "Oh? Are these all your friends?" Handeda asked with some surprise. He remembered that not long ago, Naruto was all alone, often complaining to him. He was surprised to have so many friends now, and it made him feel relieved. "Yes, but I'm only treating him today," Naruto said, pointing at Goku. "So, Naruto, and everyone else, what flavor of ramen would you like?" "I'd like a bowl of tonkatsu ramen," Naruto asked without hesitation. Then Sasuke and Sakura followed suit, saying, "A bowl of miso ramen." Same as him, miso ramen too. Goku glanced at the menu, scratched his face, and asked tentatively, "Could we have all the flavors?" Naruto looked over in surprise. "Can you finish this, sir?" Only then did Naruto remember Goku's terrifying appetite, and his face paled. "It's over, it's over, it's over. How could I have forgotten about this? Now, will my money, no, my money, even be enough?" The thought of Goku's food bills not only emptying his savings but even leaving them insufficient for him made him feel a sense of gloom. "Never mind, worst case scenario, I can just buy on credit and pay him back after completing a few more missions. I think Uncle Shouto would be okay with that." After struggling for a few seconds, he came up with this unwise solution. After all, the matter was settled now, and asking him to regret it was impossible. He could only grit his teeth and endure it silently. Meanwhile, with Goku's approval, Shouto didn't ask any more questions and began making ramen. Soon, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura had a bowl in front of them. And Goku had nearly 10 bowls in front of him. "Wow! It smells so good." Goku looked at the fragrant ramen in front of him, his appetite waking. "Then I'll start." As soon as he finished speaking, he picked up one of the bowls, his chopsticks dancing with speed. Swish, slurp, slurp, gulp, gulp. The bowl of ramen dwindled at a visible pace. In less than 5 seconds, Goku had devoured it. This, even though Naruto and the other two knew Goku's appetite well, they were still shocked by the sight, let alone Shouto, who was seeing Goku eat for the first time. "One more, please." Before Shouto could recover from his shock, Goku had already finished the entire bowl of ramen in front of him and gestured for him to serve the same portion. Please wait." For some reason, Shouto felt a sudden heaviness in his heart, as if he were about to go to the battlefield. His hands moved swiftly, and he quickly presented Goku with another portion. Slurp, slurp, gulp. "Again, please wait. Again, please, right away. Again, please." Done. Without waiting for Goku's signal, the hand drummer had already begun preparing the ramen. Almost as soon as Goku finished, he finished and presented it to him. The two engaged in a frenzy of cooking and eating, leaving the onlookers, Naruto and the other two, stunned. They didn't even notice their own ramen had cooled. After an unknown amount of time, when the hand drummer's speed was far behind Goku's, Goku put down his empty bowl, rubbed his stomach, and said contentedly, Ha, I'm so full. Hearing this, the hand drummer, trembling in the background as he prepared the next bowl of ramen, let out a sigh of relief, feeling that he had finally escaped death. God bless you. He had made hundreds of bowls of ramen in just an hour, completing a day's work. Fortunately, he was still in his prime and could still handle it, otherwise he would have collapsed long ago. After Naruto and the other two finished their ramen, he looked at Naruto and said, "Naruto, I won't charge you today. I'll give this customer a discount and charge you 20,000 ryo." Naruto swallowed hard, dumped all the money in his wallet onto the table, and said with a cheeky smile, "Uncle, this is all I have right now. Can I have the rest on credit?" Ha ha ha. Looking at the money on the table, which was less than a tenth of the amount, he shook his head helplessly. He knew this kid didn't have that much money, even with a discount. At that moment, Goku suddenly searched his pockets and quickly pulled out a wad of coins, placing them on the table. Is this enough? Note, all money in Naruto is measured in ryo, including banknotes and coins. Chapter 14, Danzo, Sarutobi Hiruzen, you are very well. As mentioned earlier, Goku had intended to give Kato's fortune to the Dazna family. However, Dazna didn't dare accept it all, taking only a tiny portion. So where did the rest go? With everyone's unanimous support, this immense fortune ultimately fell into Goku's hands. Due to the sheer volume of money, at everyone's suggestion, Goku only carried the wad of banknotes. The rest of the treasure was sealed in a scroll by Kakashi for temporary safekeeping. Goku had no objection, as he had no idea how much money was. Or rather, he simply didn't care how much he had, he just needed enough. Upon seeing the banknotes Goku had placed on the table, his eyes bulged. He noticed the wad of notes had a denomination of 10,000. Judging by their thickness, the total value must have been at least 1 million, nearly his entire year's net profit. Is this guest so wealthy? He looked at Goku, his peculiar attire and his innocent smile, and couldn't help but feel a hint of curiosity about his identity. Hey, Goku, we agreed to treat you, why are you paying yourself? Naruto frowned. As one of the people who supported Goku in taking over the Cardoso fortune, he was aware that Goku possessed a vast fortune. But he had never considered asking Goku to pay, because this dinner was a promise he had made. One must fulfill a promise, that's the ninja way. Didn't you treat me? Goku casually took some of the bills Naruto poured out and placed them on the bills he had handed out. Even a bowl counts as an invitation. Despite his usual naivete, he possesses a profound wisdom. This can be seen in many instances. For example, when he learned that Old Kai possessed information on how to defeat Majin Buu, he exploited Old Kai's lustful nature and offered to trade Bulma's photo for that information. This nearly infuriated Vegeta, who yelled at him why he didn't use Chikai's photo. Is that even possible? Naruto frowned, lost in thought after hearing Goku's response. Of course, isn't it, boss? Goku shoved the money toward Tada, signaling with his eyes. Ha ha ha, of course. Don't worry about it, Naruto. Tada instantly understood Goku's signal, reached out and took the several bills belonging to Naruto, then took 2 from Goku's stack. Consider the extra money as your down payment. Next time you dine, your expenses will be deducted from this, he said to Goku after collecting the money. No problem, I'll come again. Goku put his hands on the back of his head, smiling with a brilliant smile. Meanwhile, not long after Kakashi finished his report and left, an unexpected visitor arrived at the Hokage's office. Hiruzen, why is there an unidentified person next to the Jinchuriki? I think you should leave the Jinchuriki in my care to avoid any problems. The visitor pushed open the door, approached Sarutobi Hiruzen, and spoke in a deep voice. He was dressed strangely, with bandages covering his forehead and right side of his face, leaving only his left cheek exposed. As he spoke, his left eye shone with an incomparably deep, bottomless ocean, leaving no one able to guess what was going on. Sarutobi Hiruzen wasn't angry at his sudden intrusion, he was clearly used to it. He looked up at his old friend, who had become increasingly withdrawn and gloomy over the years, and said calmly, Danzo, don't worry about Naruto's affairs. I know what's going on. Hearing this, Danzo sneered and said fiercely, haha, Hiruzen, do you know what's going on? Besides anything else, letting the Jinchuriki out of the village this time was a mistake. As a strategic weapon of Konoha, the Jinchuriki should be under surveillance and restrained, locked away in the village, and yet you let him go on a mission, not to mention that he came back with this guy of unknown origin. What if this guy knew the Jinchuriki's identity? Or even if he already knew and was targeting him? Huh? Is this what you call knowing what's going on? Hiruzen, as the leader of the root organization hidden in the darkness of Konoha, he always had a conspiracy theory about everything, believing that everything that could potentially change needed to be firmly under his control. Only in this way could problems be avoided. Only in this way could Konoha be protected. Because Konoha had long been his possession, his own. Sarutobi Hiruzen knew some of Danzo's innermost thoughts, but he didn't take them seriously. He believed Danzo's intentions were for the good of Konoha, even if he was a bit paranoid. So, despite Danzo's accusations, he didn't get angry. Instead, he puffed on his cigarette and chuckled softly. Danzo, Naruto is not only a Jinchuriki, but also Minato's only son. I can't keep him locked up in the village forever. As for the person who appeared with him, Kakashi has also reported to me. At this point, while their identity remains unknown, their background is well documented. Furthermore, Kakashi personally guarantees that they won't harm Naruto or even Konoha. In his report, Kakashi mentioned Goku's origins and the ki he mentioned, and explained that Naruto and his friends were studying ki under Goku's guidance. When he first heard this, he found it hard to believe. In all his life, he had never seen anyone from outside the ninja world, let alone something so alien to chakra. But after some reflection, he accepted the offer, knowing that there were indeed many places outside the ninja world they had never set foot on. For example, the three Holy Lands were located in mysterious places beyond the ninja world. So, it wasn't impossible that this human named Son Goku came from such a place. After accepting his identity, he became curious about ki and wanted to see what Naruto and the others could achieve. If it could help improve their strength, then there would be many things he could do. This was why he ultimately agreed to let the powerful Goku stay in Konoha. Oh? What's his background? Danzo asked calmly after hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's words. You see, before Kakashi and the others returned to Konoha, he already knew about Goku's addition to the group. He sent root personnel to look up Goku's personal information, but found nothing. This sparked suspicion. That's why he had come here just after Kakashi had finished his report. His previous words were merely polite words. He hadn't expected Sarutobi Hiruzen to listen. He had only one purpose in coming here, and that was to find out Goku's origins from Sarutobi Hiruzen. However, he expected the other party to answer his questions, but unexpectedly, he refused. Sarutobi Hiruzen took another puff of his cigarette, looked at him and said slowly, Danzo, you don't need to know this for now. When the time is right, I will tell you. Seeing that he didn't hear the answer he wanted, Danzo snorted coldly and slammed the door and left. HMPH. Sarutobi Hiruzen, you are very good, since the other party would not tell him. Then he would use his own methods to find out. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15, Danzo, bring Son Goku to me. Mr. Goku, this is where you'll be living from now on. Whether you ever leave Konoha, it's yours. Kakashi pointed to a single-family house and introduced it to Goku. This house was chosen after he and Sarutobi Hiruzen discussed it. Originally belonging to the Sarutobi clan, it became Goku's property after he gave Goku some of his money. Shortly after Goku and Naruto left Ichiraku Ramen, Kakashi found them and brought them here. Wow, this house looks pretty nice, Naruto exclaimed. Hey, isn't that your home, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura surveyed her surroundings and suddenly noticed a house not far away that looked familiar. A closer look revealed it to be Kakashi-sensei's home. Ah, that's right, Mr. Goku is new here, so he might have some questions. If we live close together, it'll be easier for Mr. Goku to find me, Kakashi explained. There was one thing he didn't mention. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen had accepted Goku's stay in the village, he wasn't completely reassured. He'd arranged for him to live close to him so he could arrive and stop Goku if he threatened Konoha. While he'd agreed, he didn't take it seriously. He believed Goku wouldn't do such a thing, and it wasn't certain he could even defeat Goku. The Hokage truly praised him highly. Meanwhile, in a dark basement in Konoha, Danzo sat in a chair, looking at several root ninjas kneeling before him. He coldly said, find out where that man is staying tonight and bring him to me alive. Yes, Danzo-sama, soon. It was evening. Goku, I'll continue to rely on you to guide my training tomorrow, Naruto said, stroking his head and grinning, in front of Goku's house. After Goku had checked out his accommodations, he, Kakashi, and the others took Goku on a tour of Konoha, only now preparing to part ways. Goku-sensei, me too. I'll leave everything to you tomorrow. Sakura glanced at Sasuke and clasped her hands together. She wasn't really interested in practicing ki at the moment, but since Sasuke had joined, she decided to follow suit. Me too, Sasuke said succinctly after they finished. Haha, no problem, Goku patted his head and smiled. He, too, was eager to see how far Naruto and the others could advance. He'd be delighted if they could one day spar with him. I'm free tomorrow, so I'll come and see too, Kakashi, who had been watching them with a smile, said. As Naruto and the others' teacher, he had to show some interest in their students' training. It wasn't just because he wanted to see how ki was practiced. After saying goodbye to everyone, Goku walked into his home and smiled at the various household items and food scattered across the table and floor. Well, the people in this world are quite friendly. Naruto and the others had helped him choose these things during their shopping trip today, promising Goku to treat this place like home. Goku naturally accepted everything, and so he took everything into his house. He casually picked up an apple and quickly devoured it, leaving only the core. He then tossed it into the trash can and shoved the rest of the food into the refrigerator. He then grabbed the towel, toothbrush, and other toiletries from the household supplies and headed for the bathroom. He hadn't even had a proper bath in all the days he'd been in this world. Plop. Huh. So comfortable, he groaned in pleasure as he jumped into the brimming tub. Shortly after soaking, his eyes suddenly fixed, and he peered through the wall outside. 4 uninvited visitors, wearing animal masks, had arrived outside his house. The leader said to the other 3, "This is it. Try to be quiet when you're trying to catch us. Don't let Kakashi see us, or we'll be in trouble." Yes, with that, the 4 of them leaped into Goku's house through the open window. Bathroom. After searching the entire house, the 4 finally set their sights on the tightly closed bathroom. With a click, one of them easily unlocked the handle, and the 4 filed in. However, upon entering, they found it completely empty, not a soul in sight. "Hey, are you looking for me?" Just then, a crab-like head suddenly poked its head in from outside the door, gazing at them with a dazed expression. "Catch him!" The leader's eyelids jumped, and he was the first to react, drawing his kunai and lunging at Goku. Danzo-sama had only said to bring the target back alive, so as long as the target wasn't dead, even missing limbs wouldn't be a big deal. Furthermore, he realized the target might be a bit tricky. Without weapons, they might not be able to capture him. Just as he was contemplating which arm to dislodge first, he suddenly saw a fist rapidly enlarging before his eyes. Bang! His mask shattered, and tears mixed with blood from his nose instantly gushed out, blurring his vision. But then he saw nothing, for he had lost consciousness, falling into peaceful, fetal sleep. Bang! His body flew backward, crashing into a teammate who hadn't managed to dodge, and the other teammate also fell into a blackout. The remaining 2 men were startled, but they didn't retreat. Instead, they charged towards Goku, 1 on each side. As members of the Root, they had long since forgotten their emotions, coldly yet resolutely completing every mission Danzo had given them. Even if it meant death, they would rush forward without hesitation. They had sworn to follow Danzo to the death, ready to sacrifice their lives for him. But now, their resolve was clearly in vain. Goku flashed, passing through them unnoticed, and arrived behind them. Then, with a flick of his hands, he gently struck the backs of their necks with 2 blades. Without a moment's reaction, the 2 men fell face first to the ground, where they lay motionless. So, who are these guys? After doing all this, Goku scratched his head in confusion. Never mind. Didn't Kakashi say I could go to him if I had any questions? I'll go find him right away. He abandoned the question in a split second, then tucked 2 of the 4 people under his arms and held 2 in his hands. Flying over there is a bit of a hassle, so I'll just teleport. Kakashi's aura found it. After locking onto Kakashi's aura, his eyes lit up, and he suddenly vanished from the spot. Vanishing with him were the 4 figures he had been holding and carrying. At Kakashi's house, Kakashi was now engrossed in reading Intimate Paradise, this description. Jiraiya-sama's writing skills have improved considerably. Unbeknownst to him, his face suddenly flushed, even steaming. A second later. Yash, Kakashi, what are you looking at? Bang! Ping bang! Plop! Big guys, if you think this book is well written, please give me some recommendation votes. I won't ask for monthly votes. The humble author only wants some recommendation votes TT. Chapter 16. What if I insist on moving? At Kakashi's house, after a flurry of activity, Kakashi finally managed to stuff a book under his butt. But whether it was his haste or the sofa's fault, he slipped and fell to the floor while shoving the book under his butt. Luckily, the book remained firmly pinned to his butt. Even after sliding to the floor, it was well hidden. Huh? Seeing this, Goku scratched his head, bewildered, confused by Kakashi's reaction. It's Goku-san. Kakashi let out more breath after spotting the figure in front of him. He wasn't afraid of others knowing he was reading the book, as evidenced by the fact that he could read it with relish in the street. But what he had just read was the most explosive and thrilling description he had ever seen. Furthermore, Goku's sudden appearance left him no time to think. That's why he was so frightened. Now that he understood, he stopped hiding it. He pulled it out of his buttocks with impunity and then stuffed it into his pocket. Mr. Goku, you're looking for me. Before he could finish his words, he noticed 4 motionless figures lying at Goku's feet. In his earlier panic, coupled with the table blocking his view after he slid to the ground, he hadn't noticed them in time. Only after regaining his composure did he realize what was happening. What? His pupils narrowed as he saw the 4 men's attire. They were actually Anbu ninjas. Instinctively, he wanted to question Goku. But just as he was about to speak, something struck him. He moved in front of the 4 men, opened one of their mouths, and pulled out their tongue. As expected, he thought to himself, his eyes fixed on them. He saw an ugly black mark on the tongue he had pulled out. This was the seal of the tongue, a curse inflicted only on ninjas at the root level. This clearly showed that this person wasn't an Anbu ninja, but a root ninja. He then examined the tongues of the other 3 and discovered they also bore the tongue slang mark. Mr. Goku, could you please tell me exactly what happened? He looked at Goku gravely. The root organization, to which the root ninja belonged, was a special organization operating outside Konoha's official circles. They didn't obey the Hokage's orders, but only Danzo's. Their style was even more ruthless than that of the Anbu, a terrifying force that even he had to treat with caution. And how could such a force suddenly target Goku? Could it be that the Lord had his eye on Goku? The thought deepened his anxiety, his gaze fixed on Goku. Just now, these 4 men broke into my house, and I knocked them out, Goku said, hands on his hips, grinning. Upon hearing Goku's response, Kakashi frowned. Mr. Goku, please be more specific. He emphasized the word specifically. Could you give more details? Hearing the question, Goku scratched his face, propped his chin up, and thought for a moment before saying, I was just enjoying a comfortable bath when these 4 men suddenly burst in, attacked me, and I knocked them out. Did they say anything? Well, I think so, but I can't remember. Haha. Goku scratched his head and laughed sheepishly. Kakashi held his forehead. While Goku's account was still a bit fragmented, he could roughly piece together the whole story. These 4 root ninjas, following orders from the Lord, attack Goku at night. Most likely, they intended to capture him, a lesser possibility, to kill him on the spot. Unexpectedly, Goku's strength was so great that he knocked them all out. Mr. Goku, I will report this to the Hokage and find out the reason. After these 4 men failed, I'm sure no one will come to you tonight. If they do, please continue knocking them out. Of course, if necessary, you can kill them outright, he said to Goku after some thought. Then I'll leave these 4 to you. Goku patted his head and smiled. Leave them to me, then I'll be leaving. With that, before Kakashi could say anything else, Goku abruptly vanished. Sigh, looks like I won't get a good night's sleep tonight, Kakashi muttered with a worried look as he looked at the 4 bodies lying on the ground, inside the Hokage's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen put down the last of his work, rubbed his aching waist, and let out a breath. I'm getting old after all. I'm exhausted after just a short overtime. He shook his head helplessly and tried to leave. But someone unexpectedly brought him another job. Kakashi suddenly leaped in from the window, carrying the 4 men, and addressed him sternly. Hokage-sama, there's an emergency to report. A few minutes later. Bang! Sarutobi Hiruzen slammed the table, his face etched with anger. Outrageous. How dare Danzo do this? He hadn't expected that simply because he hadn't told Danzo about Goku's origins, Danzo would dispatch his men to attack Goku at night. Goku was a formidable force, as evidenced by his silent knockout of 4 root ninjas tonight. And he came from a mysterious place, where who knows how many others, equally as powerful, might be. If Konoha offended him, Wouldn't they simply incur the wrath of an unknown enemy? The thought intensified Sarutobi Hiruzen's rage, and he summoned an Anbu ninja who was stationed nearby. "Tell Danzo to come see me immediately." "Yes, Hokage-sama." Even then, in the same dark basement, Danzo was furious. "You said Team Mew lost contact half an hour ago? Then why are you telling me now?" A kneeling root ninja in front of him lowered his head in a panic. "Danzo-sama, I thought they were on a mission and didn't respond, so I thought I'd wait, but after half an hour, there's still no response." Danzo glared at him grimly, then kicked him in the head. "What do you think? Here, I'm the only one who makes the decisions. You don't need to think, just follow my orders." The root ninja, having been kicked away, ignored the blood dripping from his forehead and prostrated himself on the ground, saying respectfully, "Yes, Danzo-sama, I admit my mistake." Danzo closed his eyes, lost in thought. A moment later, as he was about to issue an order, an Anbu ninja entered and respectfully addressed him. "Danzo-sama, the Hokage wishes to see you now." Hearing this, he narrowed his eyes, thinking, "That Hiruzen guy wants to see me now, could it be?" A short while later, in the Hokage's office, "Danzo, who gave you permission to do this?" This time, Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't offer a friendly expression. Pointing at the 4 root ninjas lying dead on the ground, his face dark, he asked. Danzo glanced at them, and suddenly a clear understanding came to his mind. Just as he'd suspected, Team Mew, sent to capture Goku, had failed. As for who had subdued them, he glanced at Kakashi, who stood silently by, and snorted inwardly, "HMPH, Sarutobi Hiruzen, I didn't expect you to send Kakashi for personal protection." I was careless this time. Upon seeing Kakashi, he immediately concluded that Team Mew had fallen at Kakashi's hands. "So," he said in a cold tone, "Hiruzen, who on earth is he that deserves your protection?" Hearing Danzo's indirect admission of his actions, Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart calmed down. "Danzo, you don't need to know this, you just need to know that you can't touch him." Danzo narrowed his eyes, trying to save his face, and tentatively replied, "What if I insist on doing it?" Hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at him and said lightly, "Danzo, you have to remember, I am the Hokage." Chapter 17, Going Around and Around. The next day, the sun shone brightly. In a secluded forest within Konoha, Goku was seen hoisting a 2 or 3 meter tall boulder above his head, chanting slogans as he ran aimlessly around the trees. Behind him, Naruto was holding a half-meter long boulder, also following his lead, chanting slogans and running around the trees. And behind Naruto was Sasuke, also holding a half-meter long boulder, his face flushed and speechless. Circle. Circle. Ah. Circle. Behind Sasuke stood another figure, Sakura, whose chants were broken with exhaustion. The boulder she was holding was even smaller than both Naruto and Sasuke's. After an indeterminate amount of time, Sakura finally gave up. She dropped the boulder to the ground and slumped against the tree, seemingly boneless. I can't go on any longer." She stared blankly at the figure still holding on ahead, thinking to herself, "Sorry, Sasuke, I just can't keep up." Ahead of them, Sasuke had also reached his limit. But seeing Naruto still running ahead of him, he gritted his teeth and persevered. "Damn it. I won't lose to this guy." He wouldn't allow himself to lose to Naruto, otherwise, he wouldn't have chosen a rock roughly the same size as Naruto's. But Naruto had already trained for several days, and his acclimatization and physical fitness were superior. Therefore, his stubbornness likely wouldn't help him defeat Naruto, but would instead harm himself. At the front of the group, Goku seemed focused on running, but he was actually keeping an eye on the 3 behind him. Seeing Sakura pause and realizing Sasuke had reached his limit, he stopped, turned around, and smiled. "Let's call it a day for this running training." With that, he dropped the boulder he was holding overhead, with a resounding thud. "Huh? It's finally over." Naruto dropped the rock, wiped the sweat from his brow, and breathed a sigh of relief. He was exhausted, too. If he ran any longer, he would reach his limit, just like Sasuke. Sasuke said nothing, silently throwing away the stone and resting against a tree trunk. He was too tired to say anything. Not far away, Kakashi, who had been watching them train, held his forehead with his hand. Such a hardcore training method really looks like someone, in his mind, a burly man with thick eyebrows and a bowl cut, who always wore green tights, could not help but pop up. What if he met Goku? The thought of the scene that man would see Goku gave him a chill. Fortunately, he's out on a mission recently, so he won't be able to see Goku for the time being. After a moment of random thoughts, he continued to pay attention to Goku, Naruto and the others. Huh? Is this the beginning of ki training? He turned his gaze back to Goku and the others. After Naruto and the others rested for a while, Goku said to them, "Next, Sasuke and Sakura, you two must learn to sense and channel your own ki. Only by learning to control your ki can you use it in combat." As soon as he finished speaking, Sakura weakly raised her hand and asked, "Goku-sensei, how can we sense and channel our own ki?" Goku didn't answer directly. Instead, he looked at Naruto and smiled. "Well, Naruto, you tell me." He felt that Naruto and the others still had chakra in their bodies, which would interfere with their ki perception. Since Naruto had successfully sensed ki, Naruto might be able to explain it better. Naruto, receiving this honor for the first time, was overjoyed. There was a time when he was considered the last in school. Not only did his grades suffer, but he was also looked down upon by his classmates and scolded by his teachers. He never imagined that one day he would be able to teach others, even if it was just 2 students. He stood up happily, cleared his throat, and said seriously, "Ahem, sensing ki is very simple. As long as we calm our minds and eliminate the interference of chakra within our bodies, we can find another energy hidden within our bodies, namely ki. Then, if we want to channel ki out, we must control it and slowly draw it out of our bodies. During this process, we must not lose our focus at all, otherwise all our efforts will be wasted. Once you have mastered controlling it, you will be able to channel it easily like me." As he finished his words, he spread out his right hand, and a white gas slowly rose from his palm. Sasuke stared at him intently as he explained. After he finished his demonstration, Sasuke immediately closed his eyes and began to sense his own ki. Sakura followed suit. It's worth noting that Goku had previously unknowingly allowed Shenlong to help them both unlock their ki sensing, so he didn't make any unnecessary moves. After the two closed their eyes to sense, Naruto looked at Goku and scratched his head. Goku, no, Goku-sensei, what should I be training?" He had always casually called Goku Goku. Goku had told him to, and he felt it was more intimate. But yesterday, after they separated from Goku, Sakura had given him and Sasuke a series of instructions. She said that since they were training under Goku's guidance, they should call him sensei, just like they called Kakashi sensei, instead of calling him by his name, which seemed rude. He thought about it and decided it made sense, so today he changed his address to Goku-sensei. Goku ignored the change in address, resting his chin on his hand as he pondered for a moment before saying, "In battle, we must not only learn to control our own ki, but also learn to sense the ki of others. That way, you can locate the enemy's position with ki, rather than with your eyes." Naruto nodded, half understanding. "So, what's the difference between ki and eyes?" "The difference is huge," Goku said without hesitation. "Like, you can see me now, right?" He smiled at Naruto. "Yeah," Naruto nodded vigorously. "How about this?" As soon as he finished speaking, Goku suddenly vanished. Naruto's eyes widened, his gaze scanning the surroundings, but he couldn't find any trace of Goku. Suddenly, as if realizing something, he spun around, only to find nothing behind him. Unbeknownst to him, Goku had been standing behind him the entire time. Every time he turned or moved, Goku followed suit, completely oblivious to the presence behind him. Finally, his face fell, and he yelled into the air, "Are you hiding? How can I see you if you're hiding?" As soon as he finished speaking, he felt a tap on his shoulder. Wah! Wukong was grinning at him, his arms still raised in midair. You, he shouted, pointing at Wukong. "When did you get behind me?" He'd anticipated this, so he quickly turned back, but there was clearly no one behind him. "Ha, I was always behind you," Wukong laughed, clutching his head. "If you learned to sense other people's aura, you wouldn't have missed me just now, so now you understand the difference between locking with aura and with the naked eye, right?" The author, with a haggard expression, shakily raised his ballot bowl. "Dear kind-hearted people, with a hoarse voice, please vote." Chapter 18 The first person to master explosion. They say training takes time, and a month passed quickly. During this month, Naruto and the other two trained daily with Goku. Although each day was arduous, they persevered, and no one gave up. This included Sakura, who initially joined only for Sasuke's sake. Remarkably, when Sakura and Sasuke were learning to sense and channel their own ki, Sasuke mastered it in just 1 hour, while Sasuke took about 2. This left Sasuke feeling a bit daunted. Not only had he lost to her in tree climbing training, but he had also lost to her in ki training. However, he wasn't the one who felt the most pain. The pain was felt by Naruto, who witnessed the entire scene. This was because it took him 3 hours, the same as Sasuke and Sakura combined. Fortunately, Naruto, always a carefree person, quickly forgot about the incident and continued his training. Later, once Sasuke and Sakura mastered ki control, they joined Naruto in the practice of sensing others' ki. However, this stage proved to be quite challenging. After a month of diligent training, the most skilled of the three could only roughly sense ki within a 15-meter radius. Beyond this distance, nothing can be sensed. And at this distance, perception is only rough. This means they can only determine the approximate location of the chi, not its precise location. Despite this, Goku still praised their talent. After all, he had spent 3 years training diligently in the Heavenly Temple to master the ability to sense external chi. For Naruto and his companions to achieve this level in just 1 month was already quite impressive. Bang, bang, bang. Clap, clap, clap. In an open space, two figures were engaged in a fierce exchange. A closer look revealed Naruto and Sasuke. Bang! Their fists collided like needles against wheat spikes, creating a small wave of chi. Sasuke, your strength is quite impressive. Feeling the power of the opposing fist, Naruto's face curled up. HMPH, Naruto, you're not bad either, Sasuke responded with a similar grin. Then, he suddenly raised his knee and leg, delivering a whip kick straight at Naruto's face. Well done, Naruto, unfazed by the ferocious attack, thrust his arm forward to block it. Then, taking advantage of Sasuke's unsteady stance, he launched a powerful upward kick. Whoosh! But Sasuke seemed to have anticipated it. Before he could retract his kicking leg, he swiftly kicked back with his foot, flipping several times backwards, perfectly avoiding Naruto's blow. Furthermore, as he somersaulted in midair, Sasuke rapidly formed hand seals. As he landed, a fireball erupted from his mouth, hurtling straight at Naruto. Fire style, great fireball jutsu, Naruto dodged the attack without a second thought, then formed his own hand seals. Multiple shadow clone jutsu, in an instant, dozens of Narutos appeared on the field. Tisk, that move again, Sasuke cursed inwardly at the sight. For him now, multiple shadow clones were practically impossible to counter. He couldn't tell which was Naruto's true form, even with his Sharingan. Ki could help him distinguish, as the true form's ki was higher than the clones. But Naruto's clones were too numerous, and with his current, limited perception, he couldn't precisely lock onto Naruto's true form. Without a true lock, he couldn't break this move. So, there was only one way. Ha! He suddenly clenched his fists, a low growl emanating from his lips. Then, a white aura erupted from him, enveloping him completely. Then, with a powerful kick of his right foot, he charged straight at the Naruto, seemingly unfazed by the prospect of being surrounded. The Naruto on the other side froze in shock at the sight of the aura emanating from him. Only after Sasuke had eliminated several of the leading shadow clones did they react and fled screaming. But their escape was far outpaced by Sasuke's pursuit. Sasuke's figure appeared like a phantom, constantly appearing behind each Naruto clone, and then blasting each one apart with ease. The scene was like a storm, like a wolf among sheep, its brutality leaving one shaking their heads in awe. A short while later, the last Naruto on the scene, the real Naruto, was kicked away by Sasuke. Wah! Damn Sasuke! When did you master the ki explosion? The kicked Naruto climbed to his feet, staring at Sasuke with a look of dismay. Ki explosion involves releasing one's internal ki at a rate far exceeding normal output. It's a method that can instantly boost all-around strength. The more ki the user releases, the greater the power increase. However, the more ki is released, the faster it depletes. Once the ki in one's body is depleted, not only can one's ki burst become unstoppable, but even their life could be in jeopardy. Therefore, when using ki burst, the user must carefully control the amount of ki released, depending on their ki reserves. Goku had taught them the technique not long ago, but the three of them had never mastered it. Unexpectedly, Sasuke had just used it, leaving Naruto both frustrated and puzzled. Seeing Naruto's resigned expression, Sasuke raised his lips. HMPH, I just mastered it last night. After Naruto's taijutsu rapidly improved to a level close to his own, Sasuke realized he could no longer defeat Naruto. After Naruto used multiple shadow clones, Sasuke would be surrounded by a group. Even using a substitution technique would only provide temporary relief. He could only avoid the attacks by fleeing endlessly, but that would be tantamount to surrendering. Now, however, he had mastered Ki Burst, rapidly increasing his own strength to a level far superior to Naruto's. This way, no matter how many shadow clones Naruto created, he could crush them with his sheer force. One at a time, one at a time. A whole group at a whole group. I'm so pissed. How did you manage to master it before me? Naruto was furious after hearing Sasuke's response. He'd clearly been training in Ki first, so how could that jerk Sasuke have mastered explosive Ki before him? He hadn't expected that. While he'd indeed started training in Ki a few days before Sasuke, he'd actually started practicing explosive Ki at the same time. It was fair to say that Sasuke was a bit more gifted in this area. Just then, Goku and Sakura, who had been watching the fight, came over. Wow! Sasuke, you've mastered explosive Ki, Sakura praised Sasuke. To emphasize the praise, she didn't mention that she, too, had mastered explosive Ki. You two are amazing, Goku said with a grin, hands on his hips, then dropped to a smile. But you still have some problems in your fight. Then, he explained the problems of the two one by one. Naruto and Sasuke also listened very carefully. After each fight, Goku would point out the problems they encountered in the fight and let them improve. It is precisely because of this that their actual combat ability has made great progress in this month. After a while, Goku finished his explanation. And Naruto and Sasuke fell into thinking about their own problems. While they were thinking, a young man with thick eyebrows wearing a green tights and a watermelon hood suddenly jumped out from a distance. The young man quickly came up to them, looked at Sasuke with a fighting look on his face, pointed his thumb at himself and said, "My name is Rock Lee, please fight me." Chapter 19 Sasuke vs. Rock Lee. Naruto and the other two were stunned by the sudden appearance of Rock Lee, but Goku remained remarkably calm. He had known someone was nearby, but he hadn't sensed any threat from them, so he ignored them. Rock Lee stared at Sasuke with a hint of excitement. Today, while practicing his Burning Youth handstand, he stumbled upon this wooded area and heard the sounds of fighting. Following the sound, he discovered Naruto and Sasuke clashing. At first, he didn't take the fight too seriously, believing that while both were strong, he could easily defeat them with his 8 gates activated. But then, Sasuke's explosive power shone brightly. He realized that Sasuke, in this state, was already a match for him with his 8 gates activated. Eager to challenge him to a higher level of power, Rock Lee briefly considered the situation and decided to challenge Sasuke. So, he approached the arena and challenged Sasuke to a duel. Across from him, Sasuke was momentarily stunned before coming to his senses and sizing him up. Green tights, bowler hair, what's that strange formation? Sasuke's mouth twitched after taking in the other man's appearance. But his attention quickly shifted to the tightly bound bandages on his hands. The bandages, which should have been pristine white, were now covered in glaring dark brown patches, clearly the result of long-standing bloodstains. This man, Sasuke narrowed his eyes, observing the marks of training on the man's hands and sensing the impressive aura emanating from him. A surge of excitement filled his heart. This man was definitely quite capable. It just so happened that he hadn't had enough of the previous fight. If the man was strong enough to force him to unleash his ki. Thinking of this, he looked at him and responded, "My name is Uchiha Sasuke, and I accept your challenge." In the open space, Sasuke and Rock Lee stood facing each other. Beside them, Goku acted as referee, while Naruto and Sakura served as spectators. "Go ahead, Sasuke. Don't lose to that bushy-browed fellow," Sakura cheered Sasuke on, pumping her fist. "Damn it. This guy's getting all the attention again. Why didn't that thick eyebrow challenge me?" Naruto grumbled, his hands resting on his chin, annoyed. "Come on, let me see what you're made of." On the field, Rock Lee leaned slightly to the side, one hand behind his back, the other waving at Sasuke, as if dismissing him. But in reality, he held Sasuke in the least. This move was simply his usual opening move. Unaware, Sasuke thought Rock Lee was looking down on him, and a hint of anger welled up within him. "If you underestimate me, then prepare to be defeated." With that thought, he suddenly flashed, appearing behind Rock Lee. He then launched a powerful straight punch straight into his head. Swoosh! But the blow missed. Suddenly, Rock Lee's form vanished like a bubble, leaving his punch to strike empty air. His pupils shrank as he sensed a sudden surge of energy behind him, instantly guessing Rock Lee was attacking from behind. Without a second thought, he dodged to the side. Bang! As he dodged, a massive foot struck him hard, slashing a small dent in the ground. Rock Lee pulled his leg back, surprised his strike missed, but then his conviction grew stronger. If Sasuke had been so easily struck by his attack, it would mean his judgment was wrong. The opponent was no match for him. As Sasuke dodged, he caught a glimpse of Rock Lee's blow from the corner of his eye and thought to himself, what a powerful force. Gaining a preliminary understanding of his opponent's strength, his heart grew heavy. Nearby, Goku folded his arms, watching the exchange with a smile on his face. This young man is incredibly powerful. Sasuke has met his match this time, on the field. Bang! Bang! Crack! Crack! Unbeknownst to him, Sasuke and Rock Lee were engaged again. Sasuke raised his leg and knee, striking Rock Lee in the stomach with thunderous force. Rock Lee, facing the blow with a single thrust, firmly blocked it. Seeing that Sasuke's strike failed, he launched another swinging punch towards his cheek, sending a gust of wind through him. This time, Rock Lee didn't meet the blow head-on, but instead quickly stepped back to avoid it. Then, he exerted force from his hips, sending a powerful force through his waist and hips, then down to his thighs and calves. Whoosh! Instantly, a long leg like an iron whip lashed out at Sasuke's face with lightning speed. Seeing this ferocious blow, Sasuke ducked without a second thought. But he hadn't anticipated that Rock Lee's attack was actually a combo. Konoha whirlwind. After the whip kick had just passed over Sasuke's head, Rock Lee didn't stop it. Instead, he used the momentum to spin. Then, after sweeping through the air, the whip kick swooped down again, fiercely sweeping towards the shorter Sasuke. Sasuke had no way to avoid it, so he could only shield himself with his hands, attempting to block the blow head-on. Bang! Rock Lee's whip kick lashed out at his arm, sending him flying with a surge of force. What a force! After taking the blow head-on, he felt the other man's strength more directly than before. It was even greater than he had anticipated. And just then, as he was flung backwards for a distance, Rock Lee had somehow reached beneath him and launched a fierce kick at him. Oh no, how could he be so fast? Suddenly sensing Rock Lee's aura beneath him, Sasuke's pupils constricted, and a chill rose to his spine. Just now, there had been no sign of Rock Lee's aura within 10 meters. How could he suddenly appear beneath him? Could he have covered 10 meters in an instant? What he didn't know was that Rock Lee was using a physical technique that significantly increased his own speed. It was called Shadow Dance Leaf. Bang! In this situation, he had no time to react, and Rock Lee's kick sent him flying higher. Then, Rock Lee bent his legs and slammed them into the ground. Whoosh! Like an arrow, Rock Lee shot towards him, quickly surpassing him and hovering above him. Once above him, Rock Lee raised his knees and legs, slashing down at him fiercely. Damn it, he raised his hands to block the blow, but his body fell uncontrollably to the ground at an incredible speed. Bang! A loud bang followed, and dust billowed from the ground, obscuring the view. Sasuke, Sakura exclaimed at the sight of Sasuke taking such a heavy blow, and tried to rush forward to check on him, but a large hand stopped her. Don't worry, Sasuke won't be defeated so easily. Goku gazed calmly at the arena, as if he knew everything about the situation. Sure enough, when the dust cleared, a figure radiating white aura appeared before them. Now, I'll show you my true strength, Sasuke raised his eyes and said to Rock Lee, who had just landed on the ground. Chapter 20 Explosion vs. 8 Gates. Earlier, just before his body hit the ground, Sasuke activated his ki burst, leveraging the greatly increased speed it brought him to a complete standstill, allowing him to land in a position that minimized damage. Furthermore, he concentrated all his ki on defense, minimizing the impact of his landing. This was how he remained virtually unscathed from Rock Lee's devastating attack. You finally used that move? Rock Lee's brows gleamed with excitement upon seeing the white ki flames radiating from Sasuke. He didn't know what move Sasuke was using, but he knew this. Only by using this move could Sasuke rival him with his 8 gates activated. Sasuke's eyes narrowed at this. It seemed this guy had been nearby during his fight with Naruto, observing the battle. If that was the case, knowing the power of his ki burst and still daring to challenge him, it meant he believed he was as strong as he was. Or, if he wasn't much less so. But while the strength the opponent had displayed earlier was greater than his normal form, it was still clearly inferior to his explosive power. Could it be that he was holding back? At that moment, Rock Lee's brows suddenly darkened, and he clenched his fists and growled, 8 gates of ninjutsu, first gate, open, open, second gate, rest gate, open, boom. As soon as he finished speaking, the invisible aura emanating from him suddenly intensified. What? Sasuke immediately noticed a change and raised an eyebrow. You're holding back, too. He began to feel excited. He had thought the opponent would at most force him to use his explosive power, but he hadn't expected him to be more powerful than that. It seemed this battle wouldn't end soon. He could have another good fight. Then let me see just how strong you are. With those words, Sasuke gave a sudden kick, launching himself towards the opponent like an arrow from a bow. Good timing. Seeing this, Rock Lee showed no fear. He didn't wait for Sasuke to charge, but chose to charge head-on. When they were less than 3 meters apart, they locked eyes and simultaneously thrust their fists forward. Bang! In a flash, their fists collided like a comet hitting the earth. Then, a figure, unable to hold on for a few seconds, was sent flying. It was Rock Lee. His power has increased dramatically. After being sent flying, Rock Lee somersaulted through the air before landing unsteadily on the ground, a serious thought on his face. Before the white aura emanated from him, his strength was clearly weaker than his own without the 8 gates. Unexpectedly, with the white aura, his strength increased so much, surpassing even his own with 2 gates activated. What kind of technique was this? At that moment, a cold voice suddenly echoed in his ears. How dare you be distracted while fighting me? He was instantly startled. Oh no, he glanced up and saw Sasuke had suddenly arrived in front of him, raising his right leg and striking him fiercely. There was no time to dodge, so he raised his hands, crossed them in front of his forehead, and tried to block the blow head-on. Bang! With a loud bang, he blocked the blow, but his face flushed and his teeth clenched. His power has increased. Rock Lee felt his hands tremble slightly, as if they would fall at any moment. Furthermore, his foot was sinking deeply into the ground, demonstrating the power of this blow. What he didn't know was that Sasuke, because of his distraction, had already surged with rage. As he struck, the ki within him surged even higher, making the kick even more formidable. It seems I won't be able to defeat him with just the second gate, Rock Lee thought. And then, the next second. Third gate, the gate of life, open, his body suddenly began to swell with blood and turn red. Immediately afterwards, a green energy erupted from his body, enveloping him. Bang! He shoved Sasuke away and stepped back a distance. I was careless just now. I won't be distracted again, he said, looking at Sasuke. On the sidelines, after watching Sasuke's ki surge, Sakura said with anticipation, Sasuke will definitely defeat him this time. Nearby, Naruto, though annoyed at Sasuke stealing the spotlight, nodded in agreement. No one knew better than him the power of Sasuke's ki surge. Against that force, he was like an egg hitting a stone, powerless to fight back. And even the bushy-browed fellow, despite his impressive strength, was defeated by Sasuke's might. As expected, Sasuke completely overpowered Rock Lee in just 2 moves, seemingly ready to defeat him and end the battle. But then, they suddenly saw a burst of green energy emanate from Rock Lee, his aura surging even higher than before. What's this? Beside them, Goku observed this scene with a hint of surprise. A move that surpasses the limit of power. It looks a bit like the Kaioken. It seems Sasuke has met a worthy opponent this time. On the field, feeling Rock Lee's sudden burst of power and witnessing the changes in his body, Sasuke's lips curled. So you have hidden power, that's great, otherwise my fight would be meaningless. Across from him, Rock Lee exhaled a breath of stale air and, without another word, simply waved at him. Whoosh! Seeing his opponent signaling him to strike first, Sasuke showed no sign of retreat. He suddenly moved, rushing in front of his opponent like a whistling wind, and attacked him. Bang, bang, bang. Snap, bang. Soon, the arena erupted in the sounds of rapid combat. Along with it, there was a whistling wind, flying sand and rocks. Bang. Suddenly, Sasuke was caught off guard and was struck by Rock Lee's kick, sending him flying backwards. He slammed into a tree as thick as a bowl, snapping it in half. In a split second, he intensified his energies, dove behind Rock Lee, and launched an elbow strike at him. Bang! Rock Lee had no time to react before Sasuke's blow knocked him to the ground, creating a massive crater. But he quickly rose and continued the fight as if nothing had happened. The two exchanged fierce blows like this. Soon, both were covered in wounds. It seems the third gate isn't enough. Should I open the fourth? Rock Lee thought, struggling between blows. Opening the fourth gate would further enhance his strength, but it would also begin to cause irreversible damage to his body. His teacher, Might Guy, had always warned him not to activate it unless absolutely necessary. And was this the time to do so? A moment later, he made a decision. Youth is meant to be burned. If he hesitated now, if he didn't have the confidence to defeat his opponent, how could he possibly chase the figure in his mind? How could he possibly have the confidence to defeat it? Meanwhile, Sasuke was also contemplating something. I'm running low on chi. If I keep going like this, I'm sure to lose, then there's only one way out. It didn't take him long to make a decision. He planned to launch his next attack, disregarding his physical limitations and unleashing most of his remaining chi all at once. This way, he could maximize the power of the attack, ensuring victory in a single blow. Guess who would be the ultimate victor? Chapter 21. Who is the winner? The fierce clash between Sasuke and Rock Lee had left the field in a state of disarray. Pits of varying sizes dotted the ground, surrounded by cracks of varying lengths. Furthermore, several of the surrounding trees were broken, lying at various angles. The grim fragments and scattered branches betrayed the intensity of the battle. On the field, two figures clashed at a speed barely visible to the naked eye, dazzling Naruto, who was watching from the sidelines. Damn! That thick-browed guy so formidable. Naruto gritted his teeth as he watched. He had thought he'd only lost to Sasuke. Now, even this thick-browed guy, who had appeared out of nowhere, was far superior. Suddenly, he hated himself for not yet mastering his ki explosion. If he had, he could strut onto the field right now, declaring a 1-on-2 fight. Beside him, Goku's smile had faded, his expression solemn as he gazed at the two men. On the field, the two men, each having made their own decision, paused simultaneously after their exchange. Who? Both panted heavily, their energy drained. I admit I underestimated you. You're one of the strongest opponents of your age I've ever met. Sasuke stared intently at Rock Lee, a look of approval on his face. The reason he only considered it one of them was because he remembered his crushing defeat by Haku a month ago. You two, except for one person, are the strongest I've ever seen. Rock Lee also expressed his confidence in Sasuke's strength. Then let's decide the outcome with a single strike, Sasuke suggested. That's what I was thinking, Rock Lee agreed. Since opening the four gates would take a toll on the body, he decided to defeat his opponent as quickly as possible. This way, he could minimize the damage. With the two men reaching a consensus, the atmosphere on the field suddenly became solemn. After an unknown amount of time, they both clenched their fists and leaned forward, growling. Haha. Then, with a whoosh, he flung them back in the direction they'd come. Bewildered by the sudden change, they quickly adjusted their stance and landed on the ground. Looking up, they discovered that the one who had flung them was none other than Goku, the referee on the sidelines. Let's end this match, Goku declared. Goku-sensei, why? Sasuke asked, somewhat unwillingly. That strike had mustered all the power he could muster, the most powerful he'd ever unleashed. With it, he was confident he could defeat Rock Lee. Rock Lee remained silent, but confusion was evident on his face. With that strike, he clearly had a chance to defeat Sasuke. Seeing their bewilderment, Goku addressed them sternly. Your attack just now clearly exceeded your limits. With an attack like that, not only will your opponent be severely injured, but you will also suffer a severe backlash. After their previous attack, the two men had lost control of their bodies. This meant they could no longer control their attacks, only letting them pound upon each other. This was an extremely dangerous situation. Without control over their attacks, they couldn't control their power. If they realized their opponent or themselves couldn't withstand the force, they couldn't withdraw their force. In that situation, a careless move could lead to serious injury, or even cripplementation. This was why Goku didn't block the attacks outright, instead using his agility to deflect them. Had he blocked them directly, he wouldn't have been in any danger. But the two would have likely been hit by their own attacks. After hearing Goku's stern words, both the men fell silent. After a moment's reflection, they realized Goku was right. It was just that they had been so engrossed in the fight that they had both overlooked this point. Hey, how about a draw this time? When I get stronger, we'll have another fight, Sasuke said to Rock Lee after a moment. Sure, it's a deal. Rock Lee bared his brilliant white teeth and gave him a thumbs up. Meanwhile, Upon hearing the two men reach a consensus, Naruto was displeased. He then shouted at them, "Hey, Sasuke, thick eyebrows. Your next opponent will be me." Sasuke curled his lips in disdain at this remark. "Wait until you master explosive ki, Naruto." His contempt nearly drove Naruto crazy. At that moment, Rock Lee approached, looked at Sasuke curiously, and asked, "What is explosive ki? Is it the white flame that emanated from you earlier?" The white flame that had been emanating from Sasuke during the previous match had puzzled him for a long time. At first, he thought it was chakra energy, but with more frequent exchanges and close contact, he realized it seemed different from chakra, though he couldn't pinpoint the difference. Ultimately, he concluded it was chakra. After all, the human body could only produce that type of energy. The difference in Sasuke's chakra was probably due to some alteration in the technique he used. "Yes," Sasuke replied. Then, out of recognition of his opponent, he briefly explained, "What is explosive ki?" Rock Lee's explanation didn't dispel his confusion, it only deepened. What is ki? It seemed his previous assumption was wrong. This thing wasn't chakra? Ki is. After hearing Sasuke's explanation, he exclaimed in amazement, "Amazing! There's actually such a power within the human body." He had never imagined that the white energy emanating from Sasuke was actually another source of energy within the human body. It completely defied all his assumptions. Just then, a silver-haired figure in the distance gradually approached them. "Hey, we haven't seen each other in a few days." Someone jumped into the arena and greeted Goku and the others. It was Kakashi, who had been absent until then. He had been on a mission for the past few days, so he hadn't been able to watch Naruto and the others train. When that mission finally concluded, he rushed over immediately. After greeting Goku and the others, he looked at Rock Lee, whose attire was remarkably familiar. "Little Lee, why are you here too?" If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Target, Chunin Exam. In the land of rice, a Tagakure. In an unknown, secret base, a pale, alluringly beautiful woman with long hair was recording something. Experiment 156 failed, she wrote in her notebook. Before her, in a container filled with an unknown liquid, a young child curled up, seemingly lifeless. Stretch your gaze to the left and right, and you'll see hundreds more containers filled with the same liquid. Within each of these containers, a child quietly immersed in the solution. And surprisingly, more than half of them are lifeless. If anyone outside had witnessed this scene, their hair would have stood on end, and they would have screamed. Just then, the base door opened, and a woman with fiery red hair walked in. "Lord Orochimaru, we just received a piece of information from Konoha," she said, handing a scroll to the long-haired woman. Oh, hearing this, the long-haired woman, no, rather, Orochimaru, who had completed the reincarnation jutsu, turned his head and opened his mouth. Whoosh! A meter-long tongue suddenly darted out, wrapping around the scroll the red-haired woman handed him. He then retracted his tongue and removed the scroll. Across from him, the red-haired woman showed no emotion at this bizarre scene, as if accustomed to it. After opening the scroll, Orochimaru used a secret seal to break the seal, revealing the contents of the intelligence. "Old man, are you planning to join forces with Tsunagakure to conduct the Chunin exams?" Upon reading the information, he licked his lips, a glint in his eyes. "It seems like an opportunity has knocked on my door, on the hills behind Konoha." Having learned about Sasuke and Rock Lee's previous battle, Kakashi exclaimed in amazement, "To think that a ki explosion can boost your strength so much?" Rock Lee was his friend Might Guy's apprentice. He often heard Guy praise his apprentice for his similarities and hard work. He even claimed he was strong enough to take the Chunin exams and achieve excellent results. Yet, such a ninja with Chunin strength only managed to draw with Sasuke? Could it be that Sasuke, after his outburst, had also reached Chunin strength? He glanced at the shambles of the arena where they previously competed, and after a silent mental assessment, he concluded that this conclusion was surprisingly likely correct. This thought reminded him of the news he'd just received: the Chunin selection exams would officially begin in a month. Then, Sasuke and the others can't take them yet. He suddenly considered letting Sasuke and the others take the Chunin exams, but quickly dismissed the idea. Currently, only Sasuke possessed Chunin strength, while Naruto and Sakura didn't. The Chunin exams required the participation of the entire team. If a teammate wasn't up to par, rashly entering would only harm the entire team. However, registration wasn't open yet. Perhaps Naruto and Sakura would reach Chunin level before they signed up? Well, tell them then. It'll just give them more motivation for training. Kakashi held his forehead and said to Naruto and the other two, I have some news for you. Naruto and the other two, who were discussing their training experiences with Rock Lee, looked over. Naruto asked in confusion, what news, Kakashi-sensei? Well, Naruto, don't you want to be Hokage? This news might just help you get closer to the position. Kakashi raised the corner of his mouth slightly beneath his mask, deliberately keeping the secret. What? Are you serious? Kakashi-sensei. Upon hearing this, Naruto leaped up from his spot and rushed over to Kakashi, demanding urgently, what's the news, Kakashi-sensei, tell me. Seeing Naruto's eagerness, Kakashi stopped playing it safe and cleared his throat. Ahem, the news is, we're holding the Chunin selection exam in a month. Chunin selection exam, yes, once you pass, you'll be promoted from Junin to Chunin, which puts you one step closer to becoming Hokage. So, do you want to participate? Kakashi emphasized the word Hokage. Yes. Of course I do. Hearing that this would bring him closer to his goal, Naruto agreed without a second thought. Idiot Naruto, do you have Chunin strength now? Just then, Sasuke, who had also received the same information, ruthlessly poured cold water on him. You stinky Sasuke, what did you say? Naruto exclaimed in exasperation. Sasuke's right. Of your team, only Sasuke has reached the level of Chunin exams, and you and Sakura are still a bit behind, Kakashi said with a smile. Kakashi-sensei, I'm strong too. As long as I master my explosion, I'll definitely be stronger than Sasuke. Hearing Kakashi's denial, Naruto said with a look of disbelief. You're right, Naruto, there's still some time before the registration deadline. If you and Sakura can reach Chunin level before then, I'll allow you to register for the Chunin exams, Kakashi said with a smile. I definitely will. After hearing Kakashi's request, Naruto raised his fist and swore to the sky. And Sakura, you can do it too, right? Huh? Sakura, standing beside him, hesitated for a moment, not expecting Naruto to call her out. But when she saw the passionate pursuit of her dreams in Naruto's eyes, she quickly raised her hand and said firmly, I will too. Just as they were discussing something else about the Chunin exams, a strange sound suddenly echoed between them. Gurgle, gurgle. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound. Goku, who had been listening to their conversation, scratched his head and said with an embarrassed smile, Ahoho, I'm feeling a bit hungry. Everyone looked up at the time and realized it was noon, time for lunch. Then how about I treat everyone to barbecue, Kakashi said, looking at the crowd. Great, Naruto cheered happily at the thought of barbecue. Well, then I won't bother you anymore. At this moment, Rock Lee raised his hand weakly. What's up, thick eyebrows? You're coming too. Naruto put his arm around his shoulders and invited him. Lee, I said you're going to have a barbecue too. Yes, Lee, come too, Kakashi and Sakura said in quick succession. Sasuke remained silent, but he nodded at Rock Lee. After much urging, Rock Lee finally agreed. Just as they were about to depart, Rock Lee called for them to wait a moment, then ran into the forest and retrieved two objects from behind a tree. What are these? Naruto curiously approached, discovering that he was holding two pieces of cloth engraved with the word root nature. These are the weighted iron rings I wear every day. I just took them off because I was going to compete with Sasuke, Rock Lee explained as he strapped the rings to his legs. Weighted iron rings, Naruto, curious, picked one up to get a closer look. Wow. So heavy, he tried to grab it with one hand, but found it incredibly difficult. He quickly added his other hand, finally lifting it with greater ease. You wear these every day? He asked in disbelief. Feeling the weight, he realized it was almost as heavy as the stones he used for weight training. And Rock Lee was wearing two. The encyclopedia says Ioli's weight is called 1,000 Jin iron ring, so I'll just use that name here. Honestly, though, that name doesn't quite fit the description, as it's a piece of iron wrapped in cloth, much like the sandbags we use for leg wraps, except the sand is replaced with iron. Chapter 23, Sun, 1,000 Jin? Sprinkle some water. At a kimchi barbecue, Naruto and his friends chatted over barbecue. Lee, you really wear those 24/7? Sakura was shocked when Naruto mentioned that Rock Lee had two heavy iron rings strapped to his legs. She knew the pain of weight training, or rather, she felt it deeply. After all, she had spent countless hours every day doing weight training for the past month, and it hadn't exhausted her to death. Even that alone was excruciating for her, so how could Rock Lee actually do it 24/7? Not really. Seeing Sakura's shocked expression, Rock Lee rubbed his head shyly and corrected himself. You still have to take them off when you shower. At this remark, not only Sakura, who had asked the question, but also Naruto, Sasuke, and even Kakashi twitched their lips and fell silent. Listen, is that even human? How long do you shower? Half an hour at most. So you really wear weights almost 24/7, every day. Goku was the only one present who didn't show any shock. He blinked at everyone's expressions, somewhat puzzled by their outburst. Is 1,000 pounds really that heavy? Is carrying a weight for 24 hours that outrageous? Son, who had once carried 40 tons and 10 times gravity, expressed his incomprehension. After a moment, Naruto broke the silence, clapping his hands and declaring, "It's decided. I want to be like Thick Eyebrows, constantly carrying a weight." On the way to the barbecue, he had made a bold promise to Kakashi, promising not only to take the Chunin exams but to win first place. Full of fighting spirit, hearing that this kind of training was possible, he immediately decided to do the same. I'm going to work really hard this month. I'm going to not only amaze Kakashi-sensei, but also have Sasuke and Sakura adoring me. With that declaration, he began to imagine himself radiating glory in the Chunin exams, being praised by everyone. Across from him, Sasuke saw his smirk and turned his head away, curling his lips. Idiot. Then he looked at Rock Lee. Little Lee, where did you buy that weighted ring? After Naruto's suggestion, he decided to train like Rock Lee himself. I didn't buy it myself. My teacher gave it to me, Rock Lee replied, a little embarrassed. So you don't know where to buy it? Yes. Just as Sasuke was pondering where to buy it, Kakashi suddenly spoke up. I do know a store that sells these. I think that's where Guy bought them. I can take you there after dinner. An hour later, when everyone had finished their meal, Goku rubbed his head and smiled innocently. Then shall I begin? Kakashi, Naruto, and the other two nodded in unison. Only Rock Lee looked bewildered. Begin what? But he soon found out. At some point, only a few tables remained in the restaurant, as the others hadn't seen any new customers since the last diners finished eating and left. These empty tables, however, were all filled with barbecued meat. Goku looked toward the kitchen and shouted, Boss, it's time to begin. Suddenly, a dozen or so chefs, each with solemn expressions, emerged from the kitchen. As if carrying out some daunting task, they approached the empty tables with a solemn air. Immediately, they lit the fire, greased the grills, and added the meat, all in one seamless process. Everyone, work hard. Show us your skills. Today, we're going to make sure Mr. Goku can't keep up with us. A portly, middle-aged man followed behind the chefs and shouted at them. Yes, the chefs roared in unison. Seeing this, Rock Lee understood what Goku meant by begin, but his doubts only grew. What the hell is going on? Seeing his bewildered expression, Naruto grinned and kindly explained. Thick Eyebrows, you don't understand. Goku-sensei has an incredibly large appetite, so much so that even the combined forces of us can't match him. The first time we came here for barbecue, after we were full, Goku-sensei couldn't finish his meal for 3 hours because the grilling was so slow. Then the owner found out and had the chefs use the empty tables to help with the grilling, which allowed Goku-sensei to fill his stomach. So after that, every time we came here to eat, the owner would set aside a table for Goku-sensei to grill. Hearing this, Rock Lee's mouth dropped open in shock. He'd been here a few times, but he'd never seen the chefs grilling for customers. He hadn't expected a barbecue restaurant to offer this kind of service. What he didn't know was that barbecue restaurants didn't actually offer such a service. The reason they grilled meat for Goku was simply because Goku's spending on one meal could easily equal the restaurant's sales for several days. Rock Lee then witnessed firsthand the chef's swift grilling prowess and Goku's prodigious appetite. Over a dozen chefs moved swiftly between the grills at their respective tables. With one gloved hand, they quickly filled the grills with raw meat, leaving no gaps. With the other, they gripped the meat tongs, swiftly reaching out to flip a slice whenever it was cooked through. After a moment, almost simultaneously, they placed all the cooked meat onto plates and began the next round of grilling in an orderly fashion. Meanwhile, the waiter brought the finished meat to Goku. Wow! I'm ready, Looking at the dozen or so plates of fragrant barbecue before him, Goku, despite the heat, grabbed a piece and shoved it into his mouth. Slurp, 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 slurp. Within seconds, he devoured the entire plate of grilled meat. He then grabbed the other pieces and devoured them one by one. By the time he'd finished all the meat in front of him, the next batch of meat had emerged from the oven, fragrant and ready to be served right in front of him. Gudong, Rock Lee swallowed hard as he watched this unfold. He watched Naruto and the others chattering, oblivious to the scene, and couldn't help but sigh, he's really fallen behind the world. At the same moment, somewhere within the land of fire, a young man, wearing the same green tights as Rock Lee and sporting the same bowler cut, but with even thicker eyebrows, gazed towards Konoha and murmured, "Lee, how's your training been lately? Have you been burning your youth?" And Niji, "Tenten, how's your training been going, too?" He was none other than Kakashi's best friend, Rock Lee's passionate teacher, the self-proclaimed proud blue beast of Konoha, Might Guy. Just then, his companion smiled and said to him, "Guy, it's time to get back to the mission. In a few days, we'll be done with the mission, and you'll be able to return to see your apprentice." Upon hearing his companion's words, Might Guy snapped back to his senses, clenched his fists, and growled, That's right. The mission isn't over yet, and my youth must burn brightly. Lee, Niji, Tenten, once I finish the mission, I'll be able to return to see you. Thanks to Weewood for the 2 monthly passes yesterday. This is the first time this book has received monthly passes. And I'm deeply grateful. I'm also grateful to everyone who's voted for recommendations and given me rewards these days. Honestly, this book's current performance is terrible, so bad it can't even get a test drive. 5 days after it was released, it's only gained less than 100 pieces. It's a complete flop. If it weren't for the constant buzz and the occasional votes, the author would have lost motivation to continue. While this book is about the universe, each world is estimated to be hundreds of thousands of words long, so the pace isn't particularly fast, which I suspect contributes to its failure. But there's no other way, the fast-paced world-changing format is too fast, and the author doesn't enjoy it. Plus, there aren't many worlds to write about, as many haven't been seen, and catching up on the plot wouldn't keep up with the writing speed. Therefore, the book incorporates the idea of having people from other worlds learn to master chi. This slows the pace without being watered down, and allows for moments where others are astounded by the strength of these learners. Of course, Goku is the protagonist, so he will occasionally clash with powerful beings from other worlds, bringing them a Saiyan-like shock. However, this plot won't happen constantly, as it would become boring if it were repeated too often, as everyone knows Goku can't lose. Let's stop here. Thank you all for your support again, and then make a promise. No matter what the future holds for this book, at least the story of the Naruto world will be finished, and you won't end up reading it, though, by that time, there might not be anyone reading it anymore, ha ha ha. Chapter 24 Wukong, it seems to be 40 tons? After a warm farewell from the barbecue restaurant owner and staff, Goku, Naruto, and the others, led by Kakashi, arrived at a nondescript blacksmith's shop. "Boss Murakami, we've got some business to bring you," Kakashi said upon entering the shop, addressing a middle-aged man hammering away in the corner. "Oh? Kakashi, you're here, what are you buying this time? Kunai or shurikens?" Boss Murakami glanced at them without even looking up. "Neither. These kids want some wearable weights," Kakashi said, leaning sideways and pointing at Naruto and the other two behind him. "Weights?" Hearing this, Boss Murakami piqued his interest, as few people came to buy weights. After all, weights were only used by those practicing physical arts. Ninjas focused on ninjutsu training, and even if physical arts were involved, they wouldn't go so far as to purchase weights to aid their practice. "That's right. Uncle, we want to buy this. Do you have any?" Naruto pulled Rock Lee over to Boss Murakami and pointed at the weighted iron ring around Rock Lee's neck. "Oh? Isn't this the one I sold to Guy, so you're Guy's student?" Boss Murakami immediately recognized the weighted iron ring on Rock Lee's leg as the one Guy had bought from him a few months ago. It was engraved with the word root nature, a word Guy had specially inscribed there to motivate his students to train hard. "Yes, boss, I'm Rock Lee, Guy's student. Thanks to your weighted iron ring, my strength has improved significantly." Rock Lee bowed slightly. "You should thank your teacher. He paid for this. I'm just selling it to him." "You're right. I'm also grateful for what Mr. Guy has done for me." Without further ado, Mr. Murakami walked over to a metal box, clicked it open, and pointed inside. "It's all here." Naruto ran over to take a look and immediately found a dozen iron rings of various sizes inside. "So many." "Well, there are 4 weighing 1,000 pounds, 4 weighing 800 pounds, and 6 weighing 500 pounds. Which one do you want?" "I want the 1,000-pound ones," Naruto answered without hesitation. "Me too." Sasuke walked over, took a look, and also chose the 1,000-pound ones. Rock Lee was wearing 1,000-pound weight. If they were wearing less than 1,000 pounds, wouldn't it mean they were inferior to Rock Lee? At this moment, Goku walked over, took a look, and as if he had thought of something, he said, "Boss, do you have any weighted wrist guards and vests?" Bang! 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 Naruto and Sasuke walked down the street with grim expressions, each step making a loud noise. "This is too heavy." Naruto gritted his teeth, his face flushing crimson. He felt like he was exerting every ounce of strength with every step. Earlier, after Goku's question, Mr. Murakami had revealed that he also sold weighted wristbands and weighted vests. So, they ended up buying both, in addition to the iron rings for their legs. At this point, the weighted vests he and Sasuke were wearing weighed 1,500 kilograms, and the 2 weighted wristbands weighed 300 kilograms each. Adding the 2,000-kilogram iron rings, the weight they were carrying reached a staggering 4,100 kilograms. Hey, are you two really okay?" Sakura, watching them from the side, couldn't help but feel a little worried. Don't let them pass out anytime soon. While she felt worried, she also patted her chest in a moment of relief, feeling a sense of relief at the flatness of her chest. Fortunately, she had the foresight to not put on the weights immediately, but instead asked Goku-sensei to bring them to the training ground tomorrow. She did this because she felt she couldn't bear wearing them 24/7 and would only accept wearing them during training. Of course, no problem. Despite his arduous steps, Naruto persevered. Giving up so soon? Absolutely impossible. Sasuke beside him didn't respond, but his face showed determination, clearly determined to fight these weights to the bitter end. Seeing the two refusing to listen, Sakura sighed silently. Then, as if realizing something, she turned to Goku, who was standing beside her. "Goku-sensei, how did you know there were wrist guards and vests among the weights? Have you used them before?" "Yes, I did, a long time ago." Goku's face flickered with memory. "It was during his training at the Celestial Palace, decades ago." "So, Goku-sensei, how heavy were you using before?" Sakura asked curiously. Naruto and Sasuke, trudging ahead, pricked up their ears, eager to hear Goku's response. Even Kakashi, yawning slightly nearby, perked up instantly. Goku's true strength had always been a mystery to them. After all, when he fought Zabuza, Goku had subdued him with a few simple moves, leaving no one to know his true strength. But the weight he was carrying now offered some idea. Goku rubbed his chin, frowning as he pondered for a moment before replying, "I think it's about 200 pounds. Given the time it had passed, he was still a little unsure. "Only 200 pounds. Sakura's eyes narrowed at Goku's response. Naruto and Sasuke, walking ahead, nearly stumbled. "How is that possible?" "Goku-sensei, you must be lying, right?" Naruto turned with difficulty and angrily stared at Goku. "For example, the rock Goku lifted during his daily training with them weighed thousands of pounds. How could the weight only be 200 pounds? Haha, I was so weak back then," Goku chuckled, rubbing his head. "So, Goku-sensei, what's the maximum weight you think you can lift now?" Sakura, no longer bothering to dwell on the weight, simply asked Goku about his own assessment. "I'm not sure," Goku replied, scratching his head, a bit perplexed. He hadn't done extreme weight training in ages, so who knew how much he could lift now? But then, he suddenly remembered training on Grand Kai after his death with Cell. Back then, it seemed North Kai had set an 8-ton weight for himself. Wait, South Kai had raised it to 40 tons. At that thought, he suddenly had the answer. He didn't care how shocking the answer might be, or how it didn't match his current strength, so he just blurted it out. "I remember, it should be 40 tons, he said with a silly grin. Duo shao? Everyone thought they would not hear the answer, but unexpectedly Goku gave it out suddenly. But isn't this answer too exaggerated, too beyond human cognition? Hey, 40 tons, how many kilograms are 40 tons? Among the crowd, only Naruto was not shocked by the answer, because he was still stupidly confused about the conversion ratio between tons and kilograms. "Naruto, you idiot, you don't even know this." Sakura, who was shocked out of her mind, came back to her senses after hearing Naruto's loud voice, with black lines on her face. 1 ton is 2,000 kilograms, 40 tons is 80,000 kilograms, huh? 8. Ouch, bang. With his mind lost, Naruto lost his balance without noticing. And then with the help of the weight on his body, he had a fierce and intimate contact with the ground, thanks to the happy you for voting for the monthly ticket. Chapter 25 Lift a Finger and I Win. The next day, Naruto and his friends were in the woods where they usually trained. Hey, Naruto, why is there a bandage on your head? Rock Lee asked in surprise when he saw the bandage on Naruto's forehead. He was apparently fine when we parted yesterday, so how did he suddenly get injured? Ahem, thick eyebrows, don't worry about it. Naruto's eyes dodged, and he replied a little unnaturally. Did he have to say that he walked unsteadily and was pushed to the ground by the weight on his back, resulting in a big bump on his forehead? To prevent Rock Lee from asking further questions, he quickly changed the subject. By the way, thick eyebrows, why did you leave yesterday without buying the weighted vest and weighted wristbands with us? Yesterday, when they were about to buy the weights, Rock Lee suddenly left, saying something, which made him very confused. Well, it's nothing, really. I just felt like I didn't have enough saved up to buy them, so I went home to check, and I found out I didn't. Ha ha ha. Rock Lee didn't shy away from his lack of money, rubbing his head and laughing as he spoke. While these weights were rare, they were incredibly expensive. Not to mention the 1,500 yen weighted vest, just the 300 yen weighted wristbands alone cost 4,000 taels each, so 2 would be 8,000 taels. For a commoner like him, whose parents had all passed away, this was a huge expense. He went back and looked through his savings and found he had less than 7,000 taels, not even enough for a pair of weighted wristbands. Ah, is that so? Naruto scratched his head. Actually, his savings weren't enough to buy the entire set of weights. A large portion had been paid for by Kakashi-sensei, who promised to pay him back when he earned more money. Hey, Naruto, Rock Lee, what are you two doing? Come over to train. Just then, a crisp voice interrupted their conversation. Not far away, Sakura, wearing her weights, called out to them. Yesterday, Rock Lee and Naruto had discussed their training methods and found them to be quite similar, so they decided to train together. Coming, Naruto waved with some difficulty, then walked over with a heavy, yet much easier, step than yesterday. After yesterday's painful experience, he hadn't done the 1,500-pound weight vest today, instead wearing only the iron rings and wrist guards. The combined weights only weigh 2,600 pounds, more suitable for his current training needs. Notably, Sasuke hadn't worn his weight vest this morning either, a clear synergy between them. After everyone gathered, Naruto asked Goku, Hey, Goku-sensei, what should we practice first today? Their daily training sessions had no fixed order, sometimes one would start, sometimes another, and new exercises could be added at any time. Goku rested his chin on his hand, pondering for a moment before his eyes lit up. Oh, I got it. This, bang. In front of a 5-meter-tall boulder, Goku slowly retracted his punch. A few seconds later, a crash. The boulder suddenly shattered, transforming into pieces of stone the size of eggs. What terrifying power! Rock Lee, witnessing Goku's power for the first time, exclaimed in shock. No, it's not his power that's terrifying, but his ability to control it. Kakashi, who had come to observe Naruto and his friends training, said solemnly. Breaking this boulder into pieces is something anyone with immense strength could do. But breaking it into evenly sized pieces is far more difficult. Kakashi recalled that even Tsunade, renowned for her extraordinary strength, didn't seem to possess such control. After the boulder completely shattered into pieces, Goku picked up one and tilted his head towards Naruto and his friends. Let's practice this today. His eyes suddenly sharpened, and he swung his arm, gripping the stone, with a fierce force. Whoosh! The stone he had held suddenly whizzed towards Naruto and the others. Its speed was like a cannonball, whipping up gusts of wind. Naruto and the others were completely unaware, only seeing a dark figure flash before them, followed by a rush of wind. Bang, bang, bang. When the stone pierced through several large trees and came to a stop, Naruto and the others finally realized what was happening. They all mechanically turned their heads, their mouths wide open as they stared at the hole in the tree. Gudong, after a long pause, the sound of someone swallowing saliva broke the silence, awakening the stunned group. Goku-sensei, when you say practice this, You mean throwing stones? Sakura was the first to recover, cautiously probing. She had another theory in mind, but it was so terrifying that she dismissed it without even a second thought. After all, Goku-sensei was so good, how could he allow them to train like that? But what you feared came true. Goku, hands on his hips, grinned. No, I'll throw the rocks, and you'll dodge them. Everyone's eyes widened at that remark. Dodge? They? Goku-sensei, you're kidding. How could we possibly dodge your rocks? Naruto froze. At that speed, even moving a finger would have been a win. And if a rock of that speed had struck him, wouldn't he have been pierced through like those trees? The thought of it made him sweat profusely, his body stiffening even further. Sakura and Rock Lee nodded frantically, and even Sasuke, usually known for his cool demeanor, nodded quickly, clearly agreeing with Naruto's statement. Kakashi didn't nod. After all, he was just there to watch the show, whether he dodged or not was none of his business. But now, sweat broke out on his forehead, and he wondered to himself, could he dodge? Seeing everyone's reaction, Goku rubbed his nose and laughed. Haha, don't worry, I'll control my speed. That attack just now was just a joke, a tease. How could he possibly reach that speed during normal training? Phew. Hearing Goku's response, Naruto and the others breathed a sigh of relief, their thoughts finally coming to their senses. That's right, how could Goku-sensei do something reckless? And since he wasn't reckless, that meant Goku-sensei's previous attack was a prank? Naruto and Sakura rolled their eyes in anger, their faces furious. Goku-sensei, toying with us is so fun. After the uproar, Naruto and the others calmed down, and Goku gathered a pile of rocks and said solemnly, from now on, I'll throw them evenly, tailored to each person's strength. All you have to do is dodge. During this, you can only rely on your physical strength, no other means are allowed. Do you understand what I mean? Got it, X for Yosh. Let's begin. Thanks to Kirita for your monthly vote. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.